missing link. Yeah. Open up our minds and universalize the way we think. The way we think. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we only just work together. Yeah. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we all just work together. Yeah. When life's burden gets heavy for your shoulders to carry, yeah. You need a friend or family, someone who's a company. Don't be afraid to ask for help to survive the stormy blast. Reach out and you may find help is on the line. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we only just work together. Yeah. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we all just work together. Yeah. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we only just work together. Yeah. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we all just work together. Yeah. Everyone need help to climb up the ladder. Like one family we have to stick together. Like sheep on one flank, birds have one feather. Listen to the voice of only compound love. I know where life can get better. Every man I want like say them a hot stepper. Some man I want like say them a top shutter. Time for we live up and serve the Father. Yeah. Why can't we unite for the benefit of our youth? Sake of our generations coming. Oh my Lord, 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 love is what we need in this world today. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go.
With them crawled out in a broad daylight, with them gun in a them and take another youth life. Mama ball out, say no this no right. She never experienced such a brutal sight. Them go all out, machine tall out. Is another innocent them shoot, yeah. In this world, can you tell me what is happening? Somebody gotta do something. Oh Lord, and a little preach man preach and beg them keep the peace. Oh Lord, it seems like life have no values, mark full up of disease. Oh Lord, criminals on a rampage. Me wondering if we're in the end of days. Oh Lord, are these the things that Papa used to talk about? Murderers, how do you feel? Taking someone's life and them begging for mercy. And you never think twice, don't you have a conscience? Yeah, look into yourself for a minute. Where is the love, the love, the love, the love in your heart? You do the bad things and a brag, but you can't hide from God. So many people you left sad. Oh Lord, and a little preach man preach and beg them keep the peace. Oh Lord, it seems like life have no values, mark full up of disease. Oh Lord, criminals on a rampage. Me wondering if we're in the end of days. Oh Lord, are these the things that Papa used to talk about? The whole city turned red, blood running in the streets, and you have to keep your eyes open. They made hotter than a furnace. Make sure you learn this. They do as they like and there's no justice. Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day. And the wicked them passed away, and everyone living in unity. Yeah. Harmony of beauty. Oh my Lord, I want to hear my cry. Not only me, but protect us on the journey. Oh my Lord, a lot of us need your helping hand to understand ourselves. Oh my Lord, I would love to see a better world when all crime and violence cease. Oh, 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 oh. Oh Lord, and a little preach man preach and beg them keep the peace. Oh Lord, it seems like life have no values, mark full up of disease. Oh Lord, criminals on a rampage. Me wondering if we're in the end of days. Oh Lord, are these the things that Papa used to talk about? Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, yeah. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, yeah, yeah. The wicked them crawl out in a broad daylight with them gun in a them and take another youth life. Mama ball out, say no this no right. She never experienced such a brutal sight. Them go all out, machine tall out. Is another innocent them shoot, yeah. In this world can you tell them what is happening sometimes?
The only one of creation, yeah. Oh, Jaja, he's ready to be praised.
DJ
We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. Jah love is everlasting. Jah love no need no offering, but Jah love is what we need in order to proceed. You better believe we'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. Jah love is everything. I can feel him in the wind. Bless us with talent and give our words to sing. So that's why I have to glorify the King. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. Oh, I'll never turn my back on you. I'll never turn my back on you. Oh, 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 oh. Celestia will be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. Oh, once in life I was not willing and able, and Jah bless me and put food on my table. So He's ready to give praise. He bless me through all my days. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever loving
I this vital me mean. You see the Rasta youth, he might tried it. Don't you try to put all your foot in I'm well. Hey, Rastafari leads the way. So don't come tell me, say Jah no live, no ramp with me ting. Rastafari leads the way. So me no want hear about your drinking dirty life back where we did. Rastafari leads the way. So don't come tell me, say Jah no live, no ramp with me ting. Rastafari leads the way. I know I hear about the ranking dirty life back where we did. It's been such a long time since we've been fighting the battle, and no one cares who win, but life is over all things, yes. No one really knows what tomorrow will bring. But all I can say today, me I want do me thing. Cause in the 1970s, them trim enough dread. Spread rumor about we a 40 leg in a red. Beat up, batter, bruise, some dead, some fled. Enough rasta man get drag out time bed. 18 months for a spliff a long spread. Them no care about the woman or the damn pitney them. Enough flock in a...
We are walking for Windrush Day.
Come on, the hell walk. Come on, I'm done. Let's go.
Just continue going.
Let's get out of here. Get out of here. Get out.
Let's go.
A lot of people are going shopping, I want to do this, I want to do that. And the things that they miss, the opportunities of being with family and mending things. And the important
Okay then, see you later, thank you. And you, bye. Keeping my mask on. Where's your mask? Stay back, stay back. Hello, dog. Walk this way, dog. No, don't call him on.
I'm celebrating Windrush Day.
I've been a part of Cairns Windrush Health Walk for the past 2 years, and in 2019 I was also a speaker on the Windrush. It's so important that we don't forget the hard work and determination and all the discrimination that our forefathers and foremothers suffered when they came to help to build Britain. We must support this cause, and we must come out and support Cairn in a celebration of the Windrush generation and all that the generation has done for us, building on what we have today. And it's our responsibility to make this continue and make them proud.
Hi, by now you should have heard of Caribbean Health Network, Cairn. We do a Windrush Day every year. This is our 3rd year. Normally it's in Alexander Park, but this year it will be via Zoom, Facebook and YouTube. Please join us on the 27th of June this year at 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock via Zoom, Facebook and YouTube. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I hope you're going to be joining us all on Saturday the 27th of June for our online conference to celebrate Windrush Day, and also to give thanks to all of those people, our ancestors, the generations before us that came to this country and built the UK and the West.
Hi, join us on the 27th of June for the Windrush celebration event, which will be online via YouTube, Facebook and Zoom. Buzz Health and Wellbeing Service will be doing an online activity, so join us then, and tell your friends and families to join in as well.
Hi guys, are you ready for the 27th?
Yeah!
What's happening on that day?
Windrush Day!
What time?
1 till 4!
And how can you find us?
Zoom, Facebook or YouTube.
Yes, that's right. Zoom, Facebook or YouTube, the 27th of June at 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock. See you there. Yes!
The Caribbean African Health Network, CARN, will be hosting a virtual Windrush Day 2020 celebration event on Saturday 27th of June from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m, streaming live on Zoom, YouTube and Facebook platforms. This event consists of a variety of entertainment activities, also a COVID-19 tribute for our community. Guests include Professor Dame Elizabeth Annuin, Andy Burnham, Lord Mayor of Manchester, plus much more civic leaders. For info and to donate, visit carn.org.uk/Windrush-2020 or contact 07575 579 377.
This one I better do with the job. Very, very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to Windrush Day 2020, the event of the decade. As you know, we should have been in the park. Unfortunately, we can't, so we're going to do it here. There are a number of ways to get in touch with us. You can get in touch via the chat box, which is attached to Zoom. You can comment on Facebook or on YouTube. And if somebody you know couldn't get into the Zoom part of this, then please get in touch with them and tell them to check us out on Facebook or on YouTube as well. We're here right the way through to 4 o'clock this afternoon. So much for you, including a cookery demonstration, which I have to tell you, I'm really looking forward to myself. Now then, let's get to the start of the events. The Lord Lieutenant of Greater Manchester, Sir Warren Smith, KCVOJP, represents the Queen and the royal family in Greater Manchester, in the county. Sir Warren Smith is a great supporter of CARN's work and is a keen advocate for equality and community cohesion. Please welcome Lord Lieutenant Sir Warren Smith.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to join you for part of today. It's good to see you here, Mike. This is a fascinating way for us all to communicate with each other. By the merest coincidence, I was born in 1948 and didn't realise what an important year that was. Throughout my childhood, I never heard of Windrush. And I have to say, it's only in the last 10 years when I've discovered how awful the Windrush experience has been for so many people. I'm 72 now. I hope to go on a bit longer. And I hope before I go, the whole issue of Windrush has been resolved. The events of the last few weeks have hopefully made a lot of people sit up. But I hope not only sit up, but to stand up for human rights. I got involved with the Community Relations Council back in 1982, the year after the Moss Side riots, because I thought I'd no idea what I could do, but I must do something. When I read about the dreadful happenings in America 3 weeks ago, I pulled out my copy of Lord Scarman's report. And I have to say, when I read through that report, I'm disappointed how, after 40 years, there has been such little progress. And it's a challenge for me now and for people like me to make sure something happens. Windrush should be a celebration for everybody.
I've got it now.
All right. Windrush should be a celebration for everybody. A whole group of people were invited to the United Kingdom to help the United Kingdom rebuild itself after the Second War. But what we've learned in the last 10 years particularly about how badly so many have been treated and continue to be treated badly, then it is a challenge to call it a celebration. Let us call it a commemoration. But let's also hope that it marks the end of tragedy and the beginning of good news. Today is very special, but I wish it was also known throughout, not just Greater Manchester, but throughout the United Kingdom. I think we all have a duty to ensure that by next year, Windrush Day is commemorated throughout the United Kingdom. It is a significant day, and it should be a significant day for everybody. So may I, on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen, wish you a meaningful and I hope happy day today, and let us hope it's the start of something magical, because as I say, I'm 72 now and I don't want to leave this earth until I know things are sorted out. Good afternoon to you all.
Lord Lieutenant Sir Warren Smith, thank you very much indeed for taking time to be with us this afternoon. Now, the Windrush history. Who better than Nicola Gardner to take us through? Nicola was a Windrush nurse before becoming an actor, model, TV presenter, and radio presenter as well. Nicola, the floor's yours.
First and foremost, hello to everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Hello to CAN members and CAN supporters. And it's so good that we can come together to commemorate such a wonderful day. It's a real honor. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm a writer and an actress. And I have my own production, the Community Centre, which is a multi-ethnic comedy show. It's been on here in Manchester at the Windrush Millennium Centre and also a couple of theatres in town. So in terms of acting, I've been on Coronation Street, Emmerdale, the Royal and Brookside, but that's a few years ago. So what's it all about? What does Windrush actually mean? Now, I just have to correct you there, Mike. I'm a little bit too young to be a Windrush nurse. I acted the part of a nurse from the Windrush generation in our show, which was in October, which was called The Windrush Women Backbone of the NHS. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the background. In the late 1940s up to the 70s, African Caribbean people came to this country in thousands, and they were invited to do so by recruiters who went out to the Caribbean and encouraged them to make a new life in the UK with promises of jobs galore and wonderful facilities, etc. And we all know that that really wasn't the case, and that the Windrush generation faced a lot of hardship and racism when they came here. So where does the name originate? Well, as I say, the people from the Caribbean came over by air and by ship, and one of the ships was the HMS Empire Windrush, which arrived at Tilbury Docks in June 1948, and hence the term the Windrush and the Windrush generation was coined. Now, the Windrush generation, they persevered and they became the backbone of many organisations and industries such as the NHS, the transport services, manufacturing industries. Caribbean people have contributed to every facet of life here in the UK. Now, the problem came about because these people came to the UK on passports that were issued to them from their respective Caribbean islands. So fast forward to 2013, 2014, when this hostile environment was first brought about by the Conservative government, who pointed a finger and said, well, you haven't got a British passport, you are not citizens, and for anybody who hasn't got a passport at all, we cannot say that you're citizens. And coincidentally, landing papers were destroyed at the Home Office, so there was no way to prove their entry into the UK. So that people were wrongfully detained, wrongfully arrested, they lost their jobs, they lost their homes, and many were deported. And this is the essence of the Windrush scandal that we're all fighting against. So as a writer, I felt that I had to write something that really encapsulated this struggle, this challenge. And so I've written a series, and I'm working with a radio producer, and hopefully this series, I must speak positively, will be commissioned in 2021. So I want you all to pray for me, and hopefully we can get our story out there. There's a couple of programs on at the moment. I want to add my voice to those programs, And remember, every time I put on a production, I provide employment for African Caribbean people, and I just want to make a significant contribution in terms of making our story known and how deplorable this scandal is. So I just want to thank everybody for listening to me today. It's been an honor to speak to you, and remember me in your prayers as the commissioning season starts up in January 2021. Remember to pray for me, and hopefully we can get my series, The Windrush Warriors, onto the radio and then hopefully onto TV. So let's enjoy this wonderful afternoon, and thank you very much for your time. Goodbye to everybody.
Nicola, thank you very much indeed for that inspiring presentation. Absolutely wonderful. Apologies, but you see, the thing about it is I call everybody part of the Windrush generation. We all are. I didn't come here till 68, so I'm way late. I interviewed a guy just a few days ago. He came over 23. He's 80 something now. So we're all part of the Windrush generation. And thank you very much indeed for that presentation.
My pleasure.
Elaine is our next guest. Elaine was qualified as a nurse in Germany before practicing in the UK many years ago. Elaine Unegbu is now the chair of Age-Friendly Manchester Older People's Board and is here to support this amazing, amazing video of nurses that came here during the 50s and 60s. The full video can be found on Khan's YouTube channel. Elaine, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me. It is indeed a great pleasure and an honor for me to have this opportunity to speak at this Windrush celebration. And I am here to acknowledge the contributions of Black nurses since the beginning of the Windrush period. Black nurses have played a significant role in the development of the NHS and still do so. The passage to date has not been easy. It was faced with unsurmountable barriers, discrimination, overt racism, being spoken to by staff and patients in an unacceptable manner. And when it was reported, it was oftentimes disregarded, or you were told you are too sensitive, or asked to ignore the comments. But apologies were never received. With perseverance, determination, and resilience, they never gave up on their values with dignity. And the pride felt in achieving their qualification as a nurse was enormous. However, after this accomplishment, things were still not plain sailing. Unfair treatment persisted, career progression was an uphill task, and often requests for professional development was made difficult or ignored. But standing on the shoulders of the fortitude and forbearance of the previous nurses, they gained strength and continued striving forwards. Some positives were achieved. There are now Black doctors and professors of nursing, NHS managers, we have chief execs. However, numbers are still significantly small. For decades, the system has left undone those things that should have been done, resulting in high overrepresentation of BME COVID-19 deaths, which further highlighted the stark inequalities. We need genuine change. Response needs to be dramatic to correct the structural and systemic injustices. Politicians need to make right the decisions, and we look forward to a fair and just future where Black lives matter. Thank you.
I was qualified in 1978, 76, because my training took longer. And my first salary, the first month, was £42 for the month.
I also started in 1973. I did my training at Staincliffe General, that's in Yorkshire. And there were other two hospitals as well. Dewsbury General, we did the pediatrics, and Barclay, where I did orthopedics. I was surprised really when I saw with the patients, really the questions they asked, you know. And I remember one time myself and the civilians were bed bathing this patient, and she held onto my arm. She said, "Why are you wearing black gloves?" Things like that, you know. It was on the geriatric ward, so, and things like that, you know, and I enjoyed it. Whether she was a bit confused.
Yeah. I started my training in 1959, longer than you ladies. After I finished my general training, I did my midwifery in Birmingham. Part 1 in Birmingham and Part 2 in Croydon.
Well, I came here in 1958. People came from here and recruited us, and I came directly to a hospital in Maidstone. So things were so different.
On my first day in this country and on the wards, the first shock I got was I'd never been with so many white people, and they were all in bed, and in the old days you had to put the top of the sheet 9 inches over the bed, and they were all lying there, white sheet, white, and I thought they were all dead. I really did. That's my first thing. And the grammar of the sister and the nurses, and I thought, where am I? Because they always tell me that England was a place of excellence for education. The grammar was atrocious.
Well, when I started nursing, I respect everybody, domestics, because we are, in God's sight, nobody's better than the other. And there is nobody could call anybody by the Christian names. You had to say Mrs. this, nurse this, by the surname, nurse that. One day there was this lady that just started nursing, and I didn't know, I wasn't a proud person anyway. And I said, I can't remember her name, but I called her by her first name. And sister took me in the office and told me off. And I said, sister, I'm sorry, I didn't know. So nowadays you find out that nurses are calling doctors by the first name, calling sisters by the first name, calling everybody by the... When I was trained, that didn't happen.
And I must say, I quite like the uniforms really. I quite like the, when I first came, the aprons and the cap, the buckle.
As soon as I started nursing, all that stopped. I'm glad I went to the School of Nursing and not the university. I'm not saying...
It's all right, I take no offense.
I'm not saying that the university isn't good, but I'm glad I was trained in the School of Nursing.
Because you were an apprentice.
And they had the rooms. You didn't think about theory, but also the practical side of nursing. And they had classrooms as well. So I'm glad that I was trained when they had the School of Nursing.
Yeah, but you see, we were apprentices. And things have moved on. Nursing has gotten so much more technical.
Yes.
Well, if you think in that time, most West Indians who were nurses, they denied duty because childcare was so expensive. It still is.
Very expensive.
And in my case, I didn't want anybody else to look after my children, so it denied. So, and what they did was, they offered most West Indians nights, and on wards like mental health wards, care of the elderly wards, and they never wanted them on surgical or intensive care or palliative care. It's, you know, there's just this thing about nursing.
Yes, because you did know it's because of your circumstances.
I was saying earlier that I got into nursing through an entrance test because I left school with no qualifications. And you used to take an entrance test. I was an auxiliary nurse for a couple of years. And then you took an entrance test and you have to get 50 to get in, and I got 51%, and I got into nursing in Bradford. But a lot of nurses were on night duty, and I think, yes, they were on the elderly wards, you know, the kind of not so prestigious areas.
Trained as a nurse and a midwife in Nigeria, then came to the UK in 1991, so I was already qualified by then, and did the adaptation course at South Manchester College of Nursing.
I did most branch of nursing, and the last days of my nursing, I ended up being in charge of intensive care at night. And then I had to leave. After done 13 years, I had to leave because I'd hurt my back when I was 21, lifting or attempting to lift a 20-stone woman. You won't do that now.
No,
you
don't live now.
do that. They didn't look after us.
No.
Because I was told I was here to nurse, not to be nursed.
Right.
So,
if I was to become young again, I would still do nursing. That's me, because I just love nursing. I think I was born to be a nurse. I was born to be a nurse.
Absolutely fantastic. I must give a mention to my Auntie Da, by the way, who came over here way, way, way back in the day, went to London and has nursed in London since those days. Sister Drummond, second names only. Sister Drummond, an absolute legend in the London area. She lives in East London now, retired recently, and still enjoying life. So I'll say hello to her. You're watching the Windrush celebration from Cannes. As I said before, we should be in the park, but we're in a much better place. Thank you to Elaine Unegbu, and thank you for the video as well. Our next guest is the Interim Chief Officer of Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership, and she's pre-recorded this video for us today because unfortunately she can't be with us. Sarah Price, helping us to celebrate with the migrants of the health and social care sector. Sarah and her leadership supports Cannes' work, as well as her predecessor, John Rouse. We have a pre-recorded speech from Sarah Price.
I wish we could all be together to mark Windrush Day 2020, so I could speak to you in person about what the commemoration means to you. As we consider the reason why we're apart, it's a real reminder of the importance of Windrush and how that generation and their descendants went on to become the backbone of many of our public services, and particularly the NHS. When the HMT Empire Windrush docked at Tilbury, we were facing a time of national crisis. Those people from the Caribbean and all those who followed helped to rebuild post-war Britain, a task that could not have been achieved without them. And while we're not facing the fallout from a world war at the moment, we are currently in the midst of one of the worst health crises the world has seen, particularly in our lifetimes. Yet again, all would be lost without the dedication, the altruism and compassion of members of the BAME communities who play a key role in keeping the country running. Our public services and wider society would not be able to care for the most vulnerable citizens at this time without the contribution of the BAME community. Those that work in hospitals, community services, primary care and social care all play a vital part in managing the pandemic and helping those that have fallen victim to it and protecting citizens against it. I'd like to thank everyone whose efforts are helping others, from doctors and nurses to care workers, healthcare assistants, porters and cleaners. You're all helping the nation weather a storm. And even if you're not directly involved in the effort to tackle coronavirus, many of you are out there looking after friends, family and neighbours at this difficult time, and you're all making a real difference. Since its inception, diversity has been at the heart of the NHS, but the NHS should be more diverse, particularly at the top in senior positions where diversity has been absent. We need to see more of our leaders come from a wider range of backgrounds to make sure we represent the communities we care for. Representation is the best and fastest way to make sure our health and care services are able to meet the needs of everyone. So here in Greater Manchester, we are committed to making sure our workforce and its leadership become representative across our whole public sector. And while progress is being made, we still have a really long way to go. Members of BAME communities are key to both the health and care sector. Looking forward, the future is clear. We need to do more to improve support to both our staff and those who use our services. And together, I think we can create lasting change. I really hope you enjoy everything that's on offer today, and I look forward to a time when we can meet face to face.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah Price, Interim Chief Officer of GMHSCP. Our next guest is a bit of a legend, I have to tell you. Kemoy Walker is the CEO and youth worker for a performing arts group called KAISO. He was recently awarded the Prime Minister's Points of Light in recognition of his inspiring work in the community in 2016. Kemoy Walker, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mike Schaff. It's great to be here, and it's great to do this as well. I want to say good evening, good afternoon to everyone. As Mike mentioned before, my name's Kemoy Walker. I came from Jamaica I came here to the UK in 2002. When I came, I was 11 years old in the United Kingdom, and I came to live in Moss Side. Living in Moss Side has kind of been a little bit of an inspiration for me, really, because it inspired me to do youth work. And from the age of, 11 onwards, I went to the local youth club called the Powerhouse, which many of you will know. Started going there as a young person from the age of 11. And then when it came to about age 15, I said to the youth workers there, I'd like to become a volunteer youth worker. And from that very age of 15, I've been a youth worker in the community, still at Powerhouse till this very day, supporting our local young people. Our young people are very talented. I'm very proud to be a youth worker. I think the role has been very rewarding, and it's also allowed me to work in education, because I realized that I wanted to make a difference even more. So I decided to go into education. So I've been promoted as head of year. So I now manage a year group of 275 students in a secondary school in North Manchester, which has been a recent promotion. I think education needed it, and I think having more role models in education that are black, it really helps. Black History Month for last year, was fantastic for the kids. They never had it before in the school, and me joining the school, I was able to bring in the parents to cook jollof rice and peas and chicken, and so much that the kids and the staff just could, it was just amazing. The staff went in the staff room to try the jollof rice, and by the time I went back in there to check on how the rice was doing, everything gone. The pot gone, everything gone. That's how much the staff really enjoyed, and that's what I meant. Sometimes it's just about educating people, and the school, like, obviously it's a school that is a Catholic school, and majority of kids are white British, and obviously it's had a large influx of black African that's come into the area of Moston and that have now joined the school. So kind of being there, I was able to educate staff on how it is within the black culture, and staff have been very receptive to that, which has been really good. They've been really supportive and listened and love a lot of the great things that we've done so far within the school. Like Mike mentioned before, I manage a performing arts group, KAISO, and we've been running since the youth services obviously got cut, which was around 2011. So we've done great events. We've worked with Calm before. We've done Manchester Carnival, London Carnival, Leeds Carnival, Manchester Day Parade. So much great events across Manchester and other cities. And we're proud to be ambassadors for other organisations like Muscare, St Vincent's, Khan, Diane Model Sports Foundation, and a few other people that are in this group that I know very well and have, you know, got different relationships with as well. I've got some of my group that I know that will be performing for you guys today. I'm very excited to obviously let you see some of the Pula talent, you know, from Afro beats to singing to dance. It's just incredible, some of the great work that our young people do within our community as well. And one thing I just wanted to mention as well, I'm a local ambassador for Mosside as well still, so as well as Manchester, and obviously that role is listening to the voice of our local young people and just taking that on board really, because often young people, you know, they get this stereotype that, you know, especially living in Mosside as well, they've had loads of that where they've gone to different communities and they've just said, I live in Mosside, and people have moved away from them or don't even want to know them. And, you know, my kind of role being an ambassador is to highlight the positives within the community of Mosside and Manchester, because again, there's so much going on across the city, not just within Mosside, but in other developing areas as well. So it's just highlighting the great work that is going on within our local community. And just kind of to finish off really, the Black Lives Matter, I was the Sunday protest in Manchester. I got up and spoke on the Sunday, and what I did was I shared a poem that the young people in Mosside created, and the poem is called I Am Not. I just wanted to read that quickly because I think it's very, very powerful. This has come from the young people within our locality that have written this poem. Some of these young people face, you know, racism on a daily basis. Some of them, you know, they go to school and they've had experiences there. So they've summed it all up in one poem, and it's called I Am Not. So I just wanted to read this quickly for you all. I am not a madman. I am not a slave. I am not inferior like you think. I am not strange. I am not ugly. I am more than a tick box on a form. I am not what the media portrays. I am not a terrorist. I am not worthless. I am not a violent person. I am not inexperienced in life. I am not easily influenced. I am not you. I am my best. I am not your scapegoat. I am not less intelligent. I am not okay with being interrupted. I am not something you trample on. I am not weak. I am not sad or moody. I am not I'm not something I don't want to be. I am everything a person can be. I am not a minority. I am not an unstrung race. I am not for your consumption. I am not a drug dealer. I am not a monster. I am not bossy just because I know what I want. I am not depressed. I am not lost. I am ready. And when they say I am ready, it could mean many different things. But in that context, they meant I am ready to fight the fight. And you know what, guys, I'm so proud, and I said it on the day as well, I'm proud to be black. I'm proud to be a positive role model for the younger generation to see. I enjoy working in education because, again, this is the majority of time we see our young people. And I like being that person that stands at the front of the assembly to be that inspiration so young people can see that and think, wow, I want to be like Kimoy there at the front. He's my head of year, you know, and we want to be that inspiration for our young people. So like I said before, I'm proud to be a youth worker. I'm proud in the roles I have within the community, and I'm proud to represent. And I just want to say massive big up to Khan and everyone who's in this meeting today. I'm glad our young people as well has joined, and you are going to be very, very, well, I know you're not going to be surprised because you see the talent all the time, but you will see something amazing today. Thank you very much for having me.
Have we got Lolita?
We haven't got Lolita, Mike, but we've got an interim kind of drop-in for Lolita instead. So it's the Garner Twins they call,
Okay.
and they've done a fantastic performance after the Black Lives Matter protest in town. So we just wanted to show that dance.
Brilliant.
Timbo, Arubu Shaga, Aru Burushaga, 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 Aru Burushaga, Aru Burushaga, Aru Burushaga, 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 Silifamba Patalo, Silifamba Patalo, Silifamba Patalo, Otimbo, Otimbo, Silifamba Patalo, Silifamba Patalo, Silifamba Patalo, Otimbo, 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 Arubu Shaga, Otimbo, 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 Silifamba Patalo, Silifamba Patalo, Silifamba Patalo, Otimbo, Otimbo, Silifamba Patalo, Silifamba Patalo.
Sensational. Thank you guys, and thank you to Kimoy as well. Our next guest is another legend, and he must be one of the busiest men in Greater Manchester. I don't know what he does all the time. I seriously don't. Andy Burnham has been the mayor of Greater Manchester since 2017. Before that, he was an MP for Lee and held ministerial portfolios. Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport from 2008 to 2009, and Secretary for Health from 2009 to 2010. Can I say what a great pleasure it is to have him to be a part of today's celebrations. Andy Burnham, welcome.
Thanks so much, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, it's very unfair, Mike. You know, fancy putting me on after Kimoy. I mean, how am I meant to follow that? And another legend, Elaine, as well. I mean, it's too difficult for me to do that. And that fantastic conversation we heard from the Windrush generation, and you know, well done, Khan, for putting on this incredible event today. You know, and we're a bit better off, I think. It's a bit wet in the park today, so I think we're in a good place. Mike, I'm going to start, if you don't mind, by celebrating this great place that we call Greater Manchester. Obviously, that's my job as mayor. But there's one specific thing that I just want to sort of kind of hold up and feel proud about. And by my reckoning, it's this. We're the only city, I think, in the world with a 19th century statue that proclaims the message, Black Lives Matter. So I'm talking, of course, of the Lincoln statue. It's not up at the moment, but you know, we all know it. We all know where it is, and it stands in honour and respect for those workers all those years ago, 160 years ago, who refused to handle slave pit cotton. And it is an amazing thing, isn't it? An absolutely amazing thing. And as mayor, I always think about that. You know, I am representing a city that for centuries has stood against racism and discrimination and for equality. And that's an amazing thing, isn't it? But it creates a pressure, something to live up to. And actually, I was thinking about that. And I was listening to Kimoy then talking about the protests. Obviously, 3 weeks ago, this weekend, I was watching, of course, as thousands of people came out onto the streets of Manchester. And they came out because they felt they had to say that message again all these years later, Black Lives Matter. Because clearly, it's not being heard and hasn't been put into practice enough. And that's why thousands and thousands and thousands of people had to come out all over the country, indeed the world, to say that to people like me. And I just want to say today that, you know, I have been watching this incredibly closely, listening extremely carefully to people who've been talking since the callous murder of George Floyd. And I've been sort of reflecting on things, Mike, and I wanted to share a few of those reflections with you today. I mean, the first is, when I listened to those voices, of course, I heard some anger, and completely understandably so, but I heard something more, something deeper, a weariness, a despair, a disillusionment. You know, and those are harder emotions, aren't they, to sort of take on board and do something about. And that's what I'm kind of now thinking about. What do I do? How do I respond? And I was going to share a few of my thoughts about that today. First thing I just wanted to say, though, is just a bit of my own experience, just so people who maybe don't know me so well just know a little bit more about me. I can remember vividly my first real life experience of racism. It was in the early 1980s when the first black goalkeeper in English football, Alex Williams, somebody many of you will know, came to Goodison Park, and I watched in horror as I heard some of the things that were said to him that day. And from that point, I guess if I didn't kind of know I was an anti-racist campaigner at that point, I became one. And me and my brother joined what became the Kick It Out campaign. And a number of years later, as a government minister, it was with some pride that I changed the law on racist chanting at English football. But I'm building here, Mike, to the sort of big reflection that I've made really over the last couple of weeks, and it's this: being anti-racist is not enough. Stopping public shows of racism is not enough. There's something much bigger that needs to happen, isn't there? Structural racism. You can't just be anti-racist. You've got to be for equal treatment, for equal opportunity, and we don't have that. We don't have that at the moment. As proud as I am of our city, we don't have it. We definitely don't have it in this country. So Elena's right. It's to people like me now that the message has been delivered, and what do we do? We need actions, not words, and I understand that. The combination of COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter coming into sort of focus together, I think has made people look at the world with new eyes, and they can see the inequality and the injustice more clearly perhaps than they could see before. But why is it that so many people in our Black, Indian, Pakistani, and particularly Bangladeshi communities have suffered so much from this virus? It's because this is a deeply unequal country. It's because those people in those communities are more likely to work in low-paid, insecure jobs, where if they have the symptoms of this virus, or if they need to self-isolate because they get a message from the tracing system, well, they can't, because they wouldn't be paid. And therefore they have to carry on working. And then they have to go back to homes where people have to live together because they can't afford the housing. There's a simple reason why this virus has been hitting the poorest communities hardest. It's because this country is so unequal, and particularly because of the discrimination that communities still face. So this is a moment to look at the world with new eyes. And what I see as Mayor of Greater Manchester is obviously that unfairness and injustice with regard to the opportunities within different communities. But what I also see is the huge underrepresentation of the Black community in Greater Manchester. Yes, in the NHS and the public sector, as Sarah Price said, but more than that, there's an underrepresentation at the decision-making levels across pretty much all organisations, public, private, voluntary, the whole lot. And that is what needs to change. So I'm not kind of sure I can say today everything that needs to happen, because it's too big a question, Mike, to address on an event like this. And I am saying some serious things. I know it's meant to be a celebration, but I've been waiting to say something like this because, you know, and this felt the right place to do it. So I hope everybody is okay with that. But change needs to come. So there are some things I'm already doing. So yesterday, the Greater Manchester Combined Authority agreed to fast track our plans for a race equality panel. And that will hold the likes of Sarah, Chief Constable, myself to account. making progress happen more quickly. And we are going to get on now with putting that together. So, that expect to see change in that space quite soon. We're about to publish the first race equality in policing report. I've committed to make this a quarterly report. Obviously, it remains the case that police powers are used disproportionately against different communities, and we can't just kind of leave that sort of hidden in the background. You have to bring that out to the foreground, and we need to debate it. Why is this happening? So we'll see the first publication shortly, and I hope that is seen as some change that is positive. But Mike, I'll finish on this point. All of that might be a start, but it's obviously only that. And I've been thinking more about what I need to do to empower the amazing Moss Side community that Kimoy spoke about, but the Black community more broadly across Greater Manchester. And I'm thinking now about what I might do. I'm working with Lord Simon Woolley and Operation Black Vote, and we want to bring forward a Greater Manchester leadership and mentoring program to basically smash through some of the barriers that are still there in front of people. And that's what I want to do. How can I change the way things are, open doors that are currently closed? But more than anything, give more hope that things can be different and empower people who can make change. I mean, we've been talking about some of the negatives today, but let's sort of think about a real positive. How proud were you? And I'm going to tell you how proud I was to see Marcus Rashford step forward recently. A true Mancunian voice, speaking on personal experience, passion, authentically, but undeniably to power. What a moment that was. What Kimoy is a role model, but what another role model we have there. And we have Raheem Sterling in the city doing the same. In those moments, you get that sense of hope, don't you, that change might be possible. And I want to empower more people of this generation, Marcus's and Raheem's generation, to feel that change is possible and can be delivered. And I've got something to work with there. So I'll bring forward these plans soon, Mike, to put some change into practice. And I've been thinking, well, how can I best celebrate the Windrush generation? How can I best kind of show my respect to them and what they did, what they gave to Greater Manchester, what they gave to our country? I think, given where we are, the best thing I can do is to support this generation that's now coming through, to say that life will be different. It's taken too long, but life will be different. And this great city we call Greater Manchester, with its proud anti-racist tradition, is going to now hopefully set a new example. It's going to proclaim loudly to the country and the world that Black lives do matter and put action behind that. So thanks for having me on today, Mike. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. And I'll hand you back to the host.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this celebration today. And you've stacked it up perfectly, what needs to happen. And the next few years is going to be absolutely critical in making some of those things happen. And I believe change is in the air. I've seen many things over the years. They start off and they go nowhere. Something different is happening now. And I'm convinced in a few years' time, hopefully not too many years' time, we're going to see the benefit of that. Right now, it's time for a real celebration as we look back over the 2019 highlights of Khan's work throughout the community.
I'm here today actually to welcome you all to Alexandra Park, to our park. Also, to welcome you all to the Windrush celebrations that are taking place. It's so nice to see the setup, and I'm sure more and more people will turn out because, you know, this is Manchester. And guess what? We've got a beautiful day. So let's say hooray for the weather. Woo!
Says that love is blind.
Magical enchanted garden.
And quite frankly, too many of them have been treated as second-class citizens. So there is an injustice for the Windrush generation, which we will continue to fight. I will continue to fight in Parliament. There is
happening in immigration. And I'm sure all of you also know what happened with the Windrush.
Arts within health and well-being, and this is just a brilliant example.
As I say, we're recruiting for the next couple of years.
It's the skills and abilities of everyone, and we're always wanting to expand that and increase our work.
1, 2, 3, stop! I always stop!
Gentlemen, I'm not hearing. I don't know if it's because good health in Manchester, and I'm proud to be part of that. Harry, day in and day out.
Fair. What do people think about the NHS? Who cares?
But if we are wise, we know the thing.
Can you kick it?
It's a go, go, it's a go, it's a go, it's a go, it's a go, oh go, it's a go, it's a go.
Hey, Mr. Saying, this is my street. Fuck I know for devil, and for them, hey.
I
Good. Hands on your ways.
English generation who are more British than the British came here to do jobs after the war in 1948. Although people from the Caribbean and Africa had been present in the UK for many centuries,
until we tumble down, make me hold your hand, girl. Make me wheel and turn till we tumble down. Make me hold your hand, girl.
I am through the sea with my red car. Trainers on me dancing and I'm telling you to wait.
Save lives. I want to make you aware as well that in April we started a Greater Manchester Suicide Bereavement Information Service.
Grateful for everyone that turned out, and just also we want to say thank you to a number of different people that have actually made this day happen, and I'll pass that on to Charles in a minute, but just really to say thank you. Please continue to support the work we're doing. We're doing an awful lot of work across Greater Manchester, and we have a real health focus on the African and Caribbean community. We want to make real improvements in people's health and well-being, and as you can see, you know, today we had lots of health stalls, so we had over 100 people having health checks today. We had lots of referrals, and we just need to make sure we capture, you know, our people to make sure that they are as in good a health as possibly can. And
be grateful to all of them. Just to echo what Faye said, we're looking over the next couple of months to influence policy to make sure that the health and well-being of our Black Caribbean African community, because we have devolution in Manchester, makes a real difference for the layperson on the street. And so we're all about lobbying, campaigning, influencing policy, making sure that services are culturally appropriate. So we want to encourage you to be part of what we're doing. Once again, I want to say thanks to our volunteers. We're still recruiting volunteers in the yellow t-shirt. Without them, they've given up lots of time. In October, we have a gala coming up, at the Etihad Stadium towards our work. But also for those who've had this program, one of the things we want to do is to make sure that we touch real people. So in this program, you'll see a young boy who is 6 years old who needs surgery, which is not covered by the NHS, and they need to raise at least 17,000 for that surgery to happen. So I want to encourage you, pick a copy of the brochure, go online and support. So once again, thanks to everyone, thanks to our volunteers, thanks to our partners, and thanks to you all for making this wonderful occasion happen.
Get back beyond this pandemic, there will be huge numbers of things that we're doing again. I tell you, looking back at that, really disappointed that the organizers today didn't lay on any chicken and rice. I mean, that's just outrageous. Let's take a live performance now. Doretta is multi-talented. She's a community activist, writer, poet, and actress, full of energy, and we are graced to have her physical activity sessions for Khan each and every Tuesday. Doretta will now bring us some of her Windrush poetry.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and wonderful to hear the speakers. As you said, my name is Doretta Maynard Hampson, poet, singer, writer, actress. I will have many strings to my bow because I believe that you can be whatever you want to be if you only give it a try. Never be fearful of doing anything in this life. But this poem that I've written, I wrote on the 1st of June, and it was just something that just touched me. So I thought I would share it with you today. In the dark, as I sit here, in the dark, no sound, no light, just me and the dark. Tears from my eyes roll down my cheek as I sit here all alone in the dark, nothing. In the dark, nothing as I sit here. Flashes of footage of my people being beaten, strangled, shot down as they are wrongfully arrested for a crime or something they have not committed. I talk to myself. I talk to myself and I say, why? Why, oh why? What have we done? Why are you so afraid of us? The anger builds. The pain is stifling. My cries of mourning is also unbearable. My thoughts are just so confusing. A battle within me cries out for mercy. Exhausted by the pain, trauma sets in, making my existence very grim. My existence very grim. In the dark, as I sit here, I feel like I'm shrinking. I try to stand tall, but I feel so deflated, weak, broken, and mashed. My brain hurts. My heart hurts. My tears hurt. My smile hurts. My bones hurt. With every breath I take, it hurts. With every breath I take, it hurts. I try to inhale, exhale, but I cannot expand it to its full capacity because the tension has stricken my body that I cannot breathe. pent up stress, anger. I just want to shout, let me breathe. Let me breathe. Let us breathe. Let us breathe. Let my people go. Let my people be free. Just let my people live. In the dark, as I sit here, in the dark. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful, poignant, and thanks. We get messages, by the way, popping up on the screen. People are saying how lovely that was. Thank you very much indeed for that.
You're welcome, everybody.
Very, very moving. Paul Dennett is Salford City Mayor. Paul was born not far from here in Warrington and is Salford's first city mayor. He works closely with Andy Burnham, whom we heard from a few minutes ago, and other Greater Manchester leaders. Please welcome Paul Dennett, Salford City Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mike. Firstly, can I say thank you to the Caribbean and African Health Network for asking me to speak at this third Windrush Day celebration in Greater Manchester. Can I also thank the network for the great work you do in Greater Manchester, championing the fair and equitable prioritisation of needs of the Caribbean and African communities across our city region and beyond. It is with great respect and pride to have this special opportunity to speak for and on behalf of the city of Salford, and to formally acknowledge the Windrush generation's immense contribution to the growth and the development of the city of Salford, Greater Manchester, and throughout the United Kingdom. The city of Salford has been built from successive waves of migration, from the Irish and the Yemenis who arrived to work on the docks, to the Jewish community whose first settlers in Manchester can be traced to around 1780, and following which saw the Jewish community settle in the adjacent city of Salford at the turn of the 20th century. The story of Windrush is of a generation who arrived at the invitation of the British Crown to help rebuild post-war Britain. They are a people with a long and noble history in this country, a history which should be honoured and respected. Last year, Salford paid homage to the life of 100-year-old ex-serviceman Oswald Dixon, who sadly passed away in September at Broughton House. Oswald, born in Kingston, Jamaica, joined the RAF as a flight mechanic during the war. He arrived in Britain only 4 years before HMS Windrush docked and made a life for himself in our country. Hundreds of mourners came to his funeral from all faiths, colours and creed. For me, this really and truly represented the spirit of our city, the spirit of Salford and the spirit of Greater Manchester. And it's one which I'm incredibly proud of. Today, the third Windrush Day celebration in Greater Manchester, we remember this generation who has done so much for our country. When our factories needed rebuilding, our roads mending, and our country defending from invasion, these brave souls stood to the task and came in their thousands to help us. With 500,000 people coming to the UK from the Caribbean between 1948 and 1971. At today's celebrations, we acknowledge the injustices suffered by the Windrush generation, and we pledge ourselves anew to tackling inequalities and racism in all its forms, and to also strengthen our relationship with the migrant communities today and also into the challenging future that lies ahead for us all. There is still very much work to do to improve and overcome the injustices and the unfair treatment of those affected by the Windrush scandal. It is a stain on the good name of this country that the trust and good faith of this generation has been disregarded by the cruel policies of the hostile environment. Let us continue to fight for equal opportunities, justice, prosperity, and lasting peace for all, present and future generations. Thank you very much.
Paul Dennett, Salford City Mayor, thank you very much indeed for that inspiring presentation. This is our Windrush celebration for 2020, not in the park, but here virtually, and everything is just the same. And I mentioned chicken and rice and peas before. We now have a cooking presentation. Unfortunately, there isn't a tasting presentation to go with it. Jenny Warren is a Jamaican-born woman of the Windrush generation. She stepped forward to cook for us a special traditional Caribbean dish. The recipe would be made available on our social media platforms, but you'll have to cook it yourself. Banana curry, healthy option from British Heart Foundation. This is a traditional Jamaican dish, and this is a pre-recorded segment.
Hello, my name is Jenny, and today I'm going to prepare for you a meal of Caribbean curry green bananas. This is a green banana. A lot of you might know, those of you that are not from the Caribbean, these ripe bananas. It's ripe, this is what it looks like, and it comes off a tree, and in the Caribbean it's a staple. It's something that I love. When I go to Jamaica, it's something that I have nearly every morning for my breakfast. Have it with fish. You can do it many different ways. Green bananas, you can have porridge, green banana porridge. You can just have it as a plain green banana, which is served with ground food, yam and dumplings. But today I'm going to prepare this meal for you. First thing we do, I've already washed the banana. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just top and tail it. So that's just taking the top off and the tail, cutting it in half, and then just scoring it down each side. This just makes it a lot easier to cook. So that's all I'm doing. And then I'm going to place it in this pan of boiling hot water with a little bit of salt and also just a tip of oil. So we're going to cook that for about 20 minutes. I'm going to cook it for about 20 minutes. Now, this is one that I prepared earlier. So this is what it looks like when it comes out. So the skin comes off really easy. So you just peel the skin off, just like that. And then I will just slice it into kind of a centimetre and a half. And here's a dish that I prepared before, so I'll just add these to that. Okay, and the next stage that I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the seasoning and the sauce that we're going to serve it in. Right, I'm just about to make the seasoning and the sauce. So I've got my frying pan here with oil in, so I'm going to add a tablespoon of curry. I've got some turmeric, so I add that in. Just mix that in. And then I'm going to add my finely chopped onions. So just keep stirring as I go. Also add, I've got some red peppers here. I've got some green peppers. So just keep stirring this. I'm just going to add a tip of water. And just keep stirring until that is cooked in, cooked down. So I'm going to add some chili powder. I've got some spring onions here. I've got some dried thyme as well. You can add whatever seasons you like. I mean, you know how you like your food seasoned, so just add, you know, things that you like. If you don't like peppers, you don't have to add them. So I'm just letting that cook down. I've got some black pepper here, which I'm going to add. And I've also, I'll let that cook down before I put my ginger in. And I've got the famous Scotch bonnet pepper, and just need a few of those just for taste. So I'm just going to let that cook down. It smells really nice. Just going to add some more water. Just need to let that simmer and just cook down. And I'm going to add some ginger. You just need to let this cook down and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Just getting all those flavours in. You can see all the colours as well. It's just really good to have your food with colour in. Right, so I'm just going to let that simmer now for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to come back. Right, so I'm back, and the seasoning and all the flavours are cooked down. So I am going to add some coconut milk. Now, there is a recipe on the British Heart Foundation which says to use yogurt, but for today I'm using coconut milk, but for health reasons it would be good to use yogurt, which is a lot lower in fat. So I've just added the coconut milk. I'm just cooking that in. And then I am going to add the green bananas. So just make sure they're all sufficiently covered. And then I'm just going to leave that for 5 minutes and just allow it to just simmer for 5 minutes, and then we'll be ready to serve. So that is the Caribbean curry green bananas. Right, so the seasoning and everything's cooked down, and the bananas are cooked down for about 5 minutes, and it's ready to serve. So as you can see, it looks really tasty. It smells absolutely gorgeous, and I'm just about to serve it up. So you can have this with fish, you can have it on its own, you can have it with a salad. Some seasoning on it. So there we have it. So there it is. It's curried green bananas. I'm just having it with some salad and a nice glass of white wine. So I hope you try this recipe, and hope you enjoy it. Take care, everyone. God bless.
Well, that must be the virtual meal that I was told about. Thank you very much indeed, Jenny Warren, for that presentation. Just to mention a couple of things. First of all, Andy has had to leave us, but he left us with a message. He says, I've appointed Diane Modal to lead our new Greater Manchester Young Persons Task Force. If people have ideas on how he can make a change for the next generation, please let Diane know. He's leaving, as he said. Best wishes to all. And Diane's contact details are Diane at DM, that's Diane Modal, sf.co.uk. Diane at dmsf.co.uk. Warren Heppelet is Executive Lead for Strategy and System Development at the Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership. He's been very supportive of CARN's work since our inception. GMHSCP has been a sponsor for the last 3 years. Delighted to say he joins us now. Warren.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks everyone for inviting me to the third Windrush Day celebration. I was at the first. I think I missed last year's, so I'm glad that I can make this one. And I think the first thing to say is just how impressive it is that you've been able to keep the event going during lockdown, recognizing how difficult that would have been, but keeping the the variety and the flavour of the event as fabulous as it has been in the last 2 years. Also feels important that you did take that step of maintaining the Windrush Day celebration. I think for all those reasons that other contributors have highlighted so far. Firstly, that we don't forget the scandal of the way that generation was treated, actually across decades, but in particular about the way that that generation or members of that generation had their citizenship denied in appalling circumstances a couple of years ago. But the second reason, of course, is that we also make sure that we don't lose the opportunity of celebrating the contribution of that generation and their children and grandchildren to the life of Greater Manchester, to its character, to the values that so many of us share across Greater Manchester, and the fact that we don't need to be ashamed to say that we do share values of a fairer society across Greater Manchester, and a lot of us recognise heroes from across the decades that have Marcus, partly because he finished his schooling at the same school that my kids both attended, so he's a bit of a hero in this household anyway. But he really did speak for Greater Manchester's values when firstly he started to directly support the feeding of hungry children, and then forced a change in the government's position across the whole of the country. So I do want to. I want to take an opportunity to reference Marcus's inspiration to us as well. But it's worth saying as well that this Windrush Day feels a bit different, and I was really interested to hear Mike reference after Andy's contribution that it feels like we might be at a turning point. So it's worth us thinking about what we can do together to make sure that we don't miss that opportunity, because this Windrush Day takes place in an atmosphere where there have been some intense pressure on the Black community over recent weeks, seeing what the murder of George Floyd meant to people around the world, and recognising that COVID-19 is a virus that actually isn't indiscriminate. It's a virus that does seek out existing inequality and has affected different communities more deeply than others. So we've got to think about how we take those markers of this as a tipping point, and think differently about the way that we think of public service, the way that we think about providing health and care services for those on that side of public service, and do it in a way that people trust and that makes a difference to the way that they experience that care and support. And I wanted to recognise the impact that I think the CARN survey recently will have, because I think there was a really important recognition there about the extent to which people want black-led services. I think it was 74% that came out of that survey, and we've got to take that seriously because it is an issue of trust in public service, I think. So we're starting some work now on building on the outputs of that survey, working with Khan on what might be better tailored information resources to specific communities across Greater Manchester, supporting Khan's befriending and advocacy service at the same time. And we've got to see that as the start, but we've got to take the prompts on what does that mean for the way that we commission and provide services, and how can we do it in a way that takes the prompt from this as a tipping point in the way that we think about the unfairness of people's access to care and support, and unfairness of their experience of receiving that care and support as well. So we've got a long way to go, I think, but I think there are a lot of us, both in Cairn, in public services across Greater Manchester at all levels, that are desperate to go on that journey together. So I'll close just by saying that we're determined to build on it. I'm proud that Cairn exists in Greater Manchester as a partner, and will always be grateful for the insights that Cairn brings on the way that we improve services. And I really hope that we can have a physical Windrush Day celebration again for 2021. And I'd really love to see you all there again next year. Best wishes, everyone.
Warren, thank you very much indeed for that. Warren Heppelet, Executive Lead for Strategy and System Development at Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership. We have messages coming in all the time. I mentioned this before. Thank you very much indeed to Macy, who's in Bristol. She says, hi, everyone. She says, what we need is smell-o-vision for the next time we do food. Thank you very much indeed for that. That's really helpful. Now we have a presentation for you. Please welcome from Kaiso Youth Club, Shakira Sams Olcott with a very special performance.
Sorry, I'm going to be singing a song from a musical called Hairspray, and you might know it, but yeah. There's a light in the darkness, though the night is as black as my skin. There's a light burning bright, showing me the way. But I know where I've been. There's a cry in the distance. It's a voice that comes from deep within. There's a cry asking why. I pray the answers up ahead. 'Cause I know where I've been. There's a road we've been traveling. There's so many on the way, but the riches will be plenty. But the price we had to pay. There's a dream in the future. There's a struggle that we have yet to win. But there's pride in my heart, 'cause I know where I'm going. Yes, I do. 'Cause I know where I've been. There's a road we must travel. There's a promise must make, but the riches will be plenty. Worth the risks and the chances that we take. There's a dream in the future. There's a promise we must make. And there's pride in my heart, 'cause I know where I'm going. Yes, I do. 'Cause I know where I've been. Thank you. That's the end.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for that sensational performance from Kaiso Youth Club, Shakira Sams Alcott. Our next presentation is, I have to tell you, another legend. I've known this lady for decades. Not that many, she's not that old. Arinma Bell, OBE, is a community peace activist, first ever woman to have her sculpture in Manchester Town Hall. Arinma has been involved in numerous local initiatives and is Deputy Lieutenant for Greater Manchester. Arinma, I hope you're there. There you are.
I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mike, for that. Although I have an MBE, don't promote me above my station.
Oh, apologies.
It's not an OBE. Well, anyway, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for asking me to speak again at the Cannes event. And it's so nice, as someone else has already said, to see that, you know, we're still able to do this and celebrate the efforts and the contributions, you know, of our parents, our past parents, our ancestors. Because if not for the trials and tribulations that they went through, we wouldn't be able to be doing what it is that we're doing here today. And it has already been said, we've had a lot of things happen in our community recently, in our communities that represent Black people. You know, we've had the Black Lives Matter movement, which is it's an existing movement. We've had the George Floyd murder, which, you know, initiated some people to actually do the same protests and marches that here. We've had the COVID-19, you know, which is affecting, as we know, Black people more than, you know, their white counterparts. And maybe that's the reason is because, you know, Black people are at the forefront in all these service line jobs. So they're at the forefront, they're doing the work, they're helping, they're assisting, and not necessarily caring, you know, for their own health and safety. They're there to help, to assist, and they go out there to do that. We've also, as we know, we've had our own murders here in Moss Side, which we're not proud of at all. But one of the things I've been saying is what we have to do as a community, as always, is look inward. We have to look at ourselves first, look inside of the box. What's causing this? How do we deal with this? Not the knee-jerk reactions, not the firefighting. And I've said as well, you know, on the outside of the box, the outside of the community, you can throw as much money into it as you can. Unless we have sustainable long-term solutions, we're not actually going to extinguish this. But I know we will get there. In order to get there, I mean, Andy's gone now. I was trying to type to him before he went off, but I'll catch him anyway. But in order to get there, we need to be around the decision-making table as well. It's just like with the conversation about racism. We can't talk about racism and what we're going to do with it unless we're all around the table talking about it. It's like the pink elephant in the room. We all have to talk about racism. We all need to understand what it is, how we feel, that's people of color, when we receive it. We need to know what we feel. We need to be able to explain that to our white counterparts who want to assist and help, so that they understand what it is that we go through, what, you know, psychologically, how it affects us, not only now, but in the long term. You know, we need to have everybody around the table. Andy Burnham taught yet again, and people know me, I'm a community activist, so I say it as it is. He has taught yet again of this equality panel, you know, that he is setting up. We spoke to him about this a year ago. If you're going to set it up, set it up. However, we also need to be around that table. We need to be present. You cannot talk equality without people of color being around that table. We all need to have the conversation. Otherwise, we're just going around in circles. We've talked about shared values. If we really share our values, or if people share the values that we share and we share their values, then we need to share the decision making as well. we need to share that also. That needs to be shared amongst everybody. And the other thing I'd like to say is we need to look for sustainable solutions. We really do need to have sustainable solutions, things that will carry us beyond this time, things that, you know, in the future, our young people can look back at and say, wow, we did well. There's certain conversations that we're having at the moment around health, around racism, that some of us feel that should have been history. That should have been things that we're telling our grandchildren about, that happened way back then, but they're happening here and now. So how do we deal with those? How do we talk about it? For me, I've called it racism unplugged. It's actually unplugged. The inequalities have been unplugged. So we now are able, not that anything stopped us, but let's have the real conversation and not be afraid of it. Because if we have the real conversation, we'll get real solutions to help us to really move forward. Not necessarily for our generation, but it's for the generations to come. Me personally, I have children, but I have grandchildren. I want them to have a safer, more equal society to be able to live in and reside in. And not only talking about the inequalities of health, it's the inequalities right across the board is what we need to talk about. Health, education, unemployment, business. We need to talk about all of it. And now is the time. If we don't seize the opportunity to talk about it right now, we're going to miss that opportunity. Thank you.
Dr. Erinma Bell, MBE. Apologies for getting that wrong earlier, by the way. This is our celebration for Windrush 2020, presented by Khan. And what a wonderful event this is turning out to be. Our next guest is Councillor Lutfer Rahman, who's the local councillor for Longsight. He's also executive member for Skills, Culture and Leisure for Manchester City Council. MCC continues to be a major supporter of Windrush Day each and every year. Councillor Lutfer Rahman.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's been really wonderful watching and listening to some of the participants and, of course, seeing the performance and the demonstration of cooking. So I want to congratulate Khan for organising the Windrush Celebration Day online. It's really different from the last 3 years when we were in Alexandra Park celebrating and sharing in the culture and the traditions. And I'm really pleased that Manchester City Council has been able to continue to support the Windrush Celebration Day through the Caribbean African Health Network and the work that they do. So it's really important that we continue to celebrate, acknowledge, remember and recognise the contribution of our diverse communities here in Manchester and beyond. But it's also important that most of our speakers have alluded to and spoke about in this current climate with Black Lives Matter movement and the focus on inequalities and particularly racial inequalities in our society, that we use these platforms and we use these celebrations to really change the society that we live in and create a society where nobody is treated differently because of the color of the skin or the background or their religion or any other characteristic that they may have. So I would really welcome the conversations that are taking place at the moment at every level, and I sense a momentum gathering pace this time round, that there will be a desire to have real change and to kind of change society for the better for everyone and for our future generations to come. But I also do want to say, when we are talking about, and I know a number of speakers have spoken about Moss Side and the incidents that took place a weekend ago, is that, you know, while we have these tragedies, and it's important that we reflect and tackle the underlying issues and why those have happened, but it's also important to shine a spotlight on our role models. And Kimo, who came on earlier on and spoke, I know the work that he does and the young people that he engages with and talks to, and those young people are really inspirational, very talented young people. And I go around the city on a regular basis and I come across young people from all backgrounds doing some amazing and inspirational work. And what we really need to do is to give them the support and the encouragement that they need to be able to shape the society that we want to see in the future years, an equal society where everyone can fulfill their true ambition and aspirations without facing barriers because of their the color of the skin or any other characteristic that they have. So that's really important for me, and I think it's really important that we carry on celebrating these community events. We have a fantastic community events calendar throughout the year where we celebrate all the diverse communities in this city. We have nearly 200 languages spoken in Manchester. And I say to a lot of people that if you don't really need to travel around the world to see different cultures and traditions, you just need to step out into the city of Manchester and you'll see people here from all over the world making a valuable contribution in creating the city that we live in. This city is an amazing city because of the diversity of the city, because of the people that come here, make this place their home and contribute. And we've talked a lot today about the contribution of the Windrush generation and the African Caribbean communities in the NHS. Yeah, and I can tell you firsthand, from my experiences with the NHS, the contribution that people from different parts of the world make in the NHS. And the NHS is only there because of the contribution that they make. And it was really interesting to listen to the Windrush nurses earlier on about their experiences and how they navigated in very different times to today, but yet their sense of duty and their sense of community and their sense of serving the patients that were under their care is truly remarkable and one that should never be forgotten. And I hope with the Windrush celebrations that we have year on year that we can continue to remember the contribution that people have made to this city and to the United Kingdom. So once again, I want to thank the Caribbean African Health Network for being innovative, because what they could have done is we're in a lockdown and they could have just not had an event at all because we can't go outside and meet in the usual ways that we do meet. But they have taken the initiative to bring people together online and make sure that we don't forget and we remember and we celebrate the contribution of the Windrush generations. So thank you very much, Khan, and thank you very much for inviting me this afternoon.
Councillor Rahman, very much indeed for your presentation. I have to tell you, many more messages coming in during the presentation from Erinma. Real conversations, real solutions. That's recognize that racism is embedded in society. Structural change is needed. Thanks, Erinma. Onwards and upwards. And that came from Dawn Edge. And from Corrine Phillips, well said, Erinma, excellent. And lovely to see such a brilliant event. We'll be back in the park next year, but this is great. So says Charlie Norman. One more guest. In fact, we're going to go straight to a break now. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break to give you a chance to stretch your legs. We will have a very special video running, Royal College of Nursing video, specially done for today. So that will run, but we'll take a short 10-minute break, and then we will be back with some more wonderful speeches and entertainment for you.
My name is Stephanie Dunn, and I am the Regional Director for the Royal College of Nursing in the Northwest. I'd like to thank Khan for inviting me to talk to you today as you celebrate Windrush Day. I think it's a very important day and very important that we mark it. I'm not going to talk a lot about the history of Windrush, as I'm sure you all know a lot about it, but I think it's fitting to remember that way back in 1948, on the 20th of May, the Empire Windrush set off its journey to the UK, starting in Trinidad, went on to Jamaica, Tampico, Mexico, to Havana and to Bermuda, and it arrived in the UK in Tilbury on the 21st of June. And at that time it was carrying 684 men, 257 women, 86 children below 12. So a number of people on that very first journey that brought with them a wide range of skills and expertise to support the UK in its reconstruction following World War II. At the same time, the National Health Service was being established, and they were very short of people, nurses in particular, and there were a number of people from across different parts of the world working in the NHS, and many people from that Windrush generation decided to take up careers in the NHS and continue to do so. throughout the decades that have since followed. And what we have seen is a continuation of that contribution to health and care in the UK by international nurses and other clinical professionals. So what we really wanted to say today was a massive thank you for them. You know, the NHS was built through the labour, the commitment and the passion of significant numbers of internationally recruited nurses, doctors and other staff. And there are lots of people who work in supporting roles across the NHS who are from Black and Asian minority ethnic backgrounds. And it's important that we remember them today, particularly as we think about COVID and the impact that we have seen that have on BAME staff working in health and care settings. We've seen the loss of a number of lives, and I think it's important that we pay tribute to them, acknowledge their contribution and the efforts they made to keep people safe and paying the ultimate price for doing so. It's really important that we recognise that the situation is ongoing, and many of our BAME colleagues, many of our BAME citizens continue to be vulnerable. So it is important that we take account of the evidence that's coming out, take account of the risks that we may be exposed to, and accept things like risk assessments where you work. Also think about what we can do as individuals in our own homes, in our own communities to stay safe, and how we keep those close to us safe. And that is one of the reasons why, along with Khan, it was thought that it would be very useful to provide some advice around infection prevention and control, just as a timely reminder, so we all know that this fight isn't over. And we have to keep doing all the things that we have been doing over these past 10 weeks to keep ourselves and each other safe. And one of my colleagues is demonstrating how to make sure we stay safe by effective hand washing. And that's just one way that we can at least take some control within our own environments and prevent the spread of this infection. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you all enjoy it, and I'm sure you will. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm going to speak with you about keeping safe during COVID-19, hand washing and hand hygiene essentials. During COVID-19, it is normal perhaps to feel worried, anxious or even fearful about what's going on. Fear and stigma can be obstacles to doing the right thing and might get in the way of keeping yourself and others safe. Focus on what you need to do for yourself and others to keep safe. Look after your mental, spiritual, faith needs and well-being needs. Be alert to the needs of others. Before I demonstrate the hand washing technique for you, here are some essential points about hand washing and hand hygiene. Always wash your hands before and after eating, after using the toilet, after changing a child or a baby's nappy, after blowing your nose, after coughing and sneezing. If you need to cough or sneeze, cough into your elbow like this. When using hand sanitizer, make sure that it contains 60% alcohol. If your hands are visibly dirty, you will need to wash them with soap and water. When using public transport, you should wear a face covering. Be aware of the surfaces that you touch whilst you are travelling. Follow the instructions from your transport operator. After completing your journey, wash your hands for at least 20 seconds or sanitize your hands as soon as possible. Do the same for any children who have travelled. Follow the specific guidance on the COVID-19 pages at www.gov.uk regarding using public transport and returning home after shopping. Thank you. Hand washing, when done well, is a great way to help protect you from infection. Turn on the tap and adjust the water temperature so that it's neither too hot nor too cold. Wet your hands and forearms before applying soap. Rub your hands with your fingers interlaced. The hand rubbing in soap helps by removing bugs into the lather. Massage between your fingers, right palm over the back of hand, left palm over the back of the other hand. Scrub with fingers interlocked, including fingertips. Rub rotationally with thumbs locked. Rinse thoroughly. Removing all the soap. And then dry your palms and the backs of your hands using a paper towel to remove any remaining bacteria. Use soft absorbent hand towels to dry your hands thoroughly, paying attention to under the fingernails and in between the fingers. Place hand towels in a bin and don't touch the bin lid with your hands. Apply hand moisturising creams that contain emollients or skin softeners after washing your hands, and regularly check your hands at least once a day for any signs of dryness, itching, redness, cracking, blistering, flaking or scaly skin. Thank you.
Well, let me wish you a warm welcome back to our Cannes celebrations for Windrush Day 2020. Hope you're enjoying it so far. The response online for absolutely fantastic. Some great messages. Keisha says, yes, indeed, a brilliant event. Fantastic work by the Cannes team in putting on a great and varied program. Great event, says Annika Belmar. Thank you very much indeed for all the feedback. Let's get the second half on the way, and let's welcome Dorothy Evans, who's going to talk this time about the importance of walking.
Okay, hi everyone. I'd just like to welcome you all to our third Windrush event. We wanted to emphasise the health benefits of exercise during lockdown, and that's particularly if you are shielding. The most important thing is to keep moving and to keep active. And I think that one of the key messages is walking is a great benefit for your health and well-being overall. If you can manage to walk at least an hour, that's the equivalent to 1,000 steps. So what we're saying is, if you can just take some gentle steps, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and build up your endurance, that's an absolutely great start. You can set yourself goals, which you can self-goals, so you can walk up to 250 steps each hour, or you can look at going up and down the stairs for about 5 or 10 times each day. Now that's the equivalent of 100 steps, walking around the block, walking to the park, to the shops, just basically focusing on keeping active. I'd also like to take the opportunity to welcome you to Khan's physical activity and nutrition hour. Now we have that on a Tuesday each week. You're also welcome to join our Saturday health session, and that covers a whole range of topics and health matters. It's an interactive session, so you can ask questions and get information. And the best thing about this is it's virtual. You don't even have to leave home. So what we'd like to say is the details for these sessions are available on Khan's website. Enjoy your walks. It's great health benefits for your overall health and well-being. And we really look forward to seeing you at some of our future events. So thank you.
If you need to travel in Greater Manchester, we want you to feel safe and confident. We all have a part to play in keeping ourselves and others safe. Please stay at home if you don't need to travel, and please don't travel if you're feeling unwell. Let's work together to keep ourselves and others safe. It's more important than ever to consider how you travel. To protect yourself and others, and reduce pressure on our public transport system, we're asking people to walk, cycle or drive where possible. If you do need to use public transport, there are some simple guidelines you should follow. Always check timetables before you travel. There'll be limited room on some transport services, so it's best to try and travel outside of peak travel times. You must also wear a face covering. This can be any cloth face covering that covers your mouth and nose while allowing you to breathe comfortably. While you're waiting, try to keep a 2-metre distance from staff and other passengers where possible. Public transport operators are doing their bit to keep you safe by cleaning vehicles, stops and stations frequently. You can help them by cleaning or sanitising your hands regularly when using public transport. You may want to carry hand sanitizer with you. It's safer to pay by contactless where you can. If you're catching a bus and need to use cash, please have the exact fare. When your bus, train or tram arrives, please work with other passengers to keep a 2-metre distance. If this isn't possible, you may consider catching the next service. For more information, please visit tfgm.com/coronavirus.
And that presentation from Transport for Greater Manchester, and we thank them for their continued support of Khan projects. Next up, one of my favorite politicians in the world. I've known this guy for decades. I've seen him come through the ranks. He's absolutely fantastic. He's Labour MP for Manchester Gorton and was elected in June of 2017 at the general election. He's now also on the front bench as a shadow minister in the Labour cabinet. Please welcome Afzal Khan, MP.
Hi, can you hear me?
I certainly can.
Great. What can I say? What a legend you are as well. I've known you for many decades. So keep up the good work. Can I, of course, also thank Khan for the amazing and wonderful work that they do throughout the year, and particularly this Windrush Day 2020 celebration they're doing as well. I have been part of their journey from day one, and I can say well done to them. You know, I say Charles and the team and everyone else, you actually do make a difference. So thank you very much for that. I know I would have loved to be in a park with everyone, but here we are with this new technology, with Zoom. We're meeting with one another. Well, at least we are meeting one another, be it on a Zoom. The Windrush Day was established in 2018 to mark the 70th anniversary of the arrival of the Empire Windrush at Tilbury Docks. This was an important milestone in recognizing the enduring contribution of this remarkable generation to the UK. In 1948, when the Empire Windrush arrived carrying 1,027 passengers, the UK was desperate for labor to help rebuild following the devastation of the Second World War. The ship's record revealed that passengers had a range of skills. There were mechanics, carpenters, welders, engineers, and scholars, and there was even hatters and a potter and a judge. In marking this important moment in British history, it is all too easy to present an overly sentimental view of the Windrush generation that does little justice to the experience of life in the UK. What makes the Windrush story so remarkable and so humbling is that they came to work in the UK in the aftermath of a war in the face of intolerable racism and injustice. No blacks, no dogs, no Irish. Science greeted new arrivals to their mother country as they searched for accommodation in boarding houses in cities up and down the UK. They were denied jobs and opportunities because of colors. And they were humiliated and discriminated against by their fellow citizens. Sadly, this discrimination has not been co-assigned to the past, as many of your earlier speakers have touched on this subject. The creation of Windrush Day came in the wake of the most atrocious scandal this country has witnessed in years. The first Windrush Day took place with the wounds of the Windrush scandal still open and raw. Amber Rudd had resigned less than 2 months earlier, and the government had promised to the rights the wrongs that so many had suffered, as the true scale of the scandal was still unfolding. I was serving as a shadow immigration minister and had the privilege of advocating for the Windrush generation on behalf of the Labour Party in Parliament during this time. I heard many stories and met with many members of the Windrush generation in Manchester and beyond, whose lives had been devastated by an inhumane and unjust, hostile policies of this government. 2 years on, and 2 Home Secretaries later, the Windrush generation are still being failed. Thousands of men and women across the country are still living with the pain and devastation of the Windrush scandal. A few weeks ago, the BBC aired a new program dramatizing the Windrush scandal, Sitting in Limbo. Takes us through the experience of Anthony Bryan, who lost his job, his home, and was imprisoned for 5 weeks after mistakenly being classified as an illegal immigrant. Watching this bureaucratic cruelty played out on the screen was devastating. Perhaps more devastating still was the news that Mr. Bryan had not received the compensation he's owed by the government's Windrush compensation scheme until a week before the program was aired. We know that the government's compensation scheme is not functioning effectively or delivering the redress victims are due. Myself and other MPs have raised this time and again in the House of Commons, only to be dismissed out of hands by ministers. What is clear at this juncture is that the Boris Johnson and Priti Patel aren't serious about righting the wrongs of the Windrush scandal. Victims deserve nothing less than urgency and compassion, and the compensation. This was put into stark relief when the Black Lives Matter protests erupted across the globe following the murder of George Floyd. Ministers were quick to say Black Lives Matter, but they were noticeably less quick to take action. If this government was serious about addressing structural racism and inequality in this country, it could start by urgently implementing all the recommendations of Wendy Williams' Lessons Learned Review in full. We celebrate this year's Windrush Day against the backdrop of a new scandal. the disproportionate impact of coronavirus on Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities. The stories of the Windrush generation and the NHS are closely intertwined. The empire Windrush arrived in Tilbury just weeks before the founding of the NHS. And the Windrush generation helped build the NHS from the ground up, working as nurses, healthcare assistants, doctors, surgeons, porters, cleaners, and much more. It is now BME NHS workers who are dying from the coronavirus in large and disproportionate numbers. Once again, the government has been too slow to protect them. We have seen Boris Johnson's announce yet another review, kicking the can down the road for another day. This is just not good enough. We have had enough of these reviews. There are some 200 recommendations from a number of different reviews which are waiting to be implemented. We don't need another review. Please just implement these recommendations. In the face of all these challenges, one thing is clear. The Windrush generation are extraordinary for their resilience, dignity, commitment, and creativity, and we are all indebted to them. Windrush Day is a moment of national celebration, but it is also a day to assert the truth that Black lives matter and to redouble our commitment to creating a just, tolerant, and equal society. Thank you once again for inviting me to join you on this day.
Afzal Khan MP, thank you very much indeed for that presentation. Well, I have to say, we're not quite sure how this is going to run these next few minutes. However, we want you to be involved, okay? Standing by is Linford Sweeney. He's a Black history educator, Caribbean genealogist, life coach, and author at Inspired Histories. He will take us through our Windrush quiz, which we want to be as interactive as possible. Mr. Sweeney, are you standing by?
Yes, it's wonderful to be here and to see so many people listening, learning, and hopefully going away with some actions that they can actually take from this day. Now, I've been asked to actually look at a Windrush quiz, and I'm gonna basically start by just asking questions. I've got 10 questions to ask, and I'm not certain how this is gonna go myself, but I'm just gonna ask the questions and then see how how people respond. Who's going to respond first, for instance? So you've got to, I'm not certain whether you've got to have your mics on or what you've got to do, but maybe not. I think it might be a question of chat. Just give me the answer in chat. So the first question I've got is, can you name the ship that brought one of the first groups of Caribbean migrant workers, including 492 Jamaicans, after World War II to the UK in 1948, so as to rebuild the mother country? Now I want the full name of the ship.
Including the letters before?
Maybe not the letters before, but they're definitely they're two important.
Two words, yeah.
Right, okay. Yes. I think that was the easy one, wasn't it? Okay. I've got about 15 minutes to do this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the answer when people have finished.
Well, Pauline was the first person. No, in fact, the second person. Teresa Phillips was first. Empire Windrush.
Right, so
Correct.
The answer is Empire Windrush. SS Empire Windrush, but I'll take Empire Windrush.
There you go.
Okay. Second question, are you all ready? This St. Lucian man was the first Black man to win the Economics Nobel Prize. the first man to be a professor at a university in the UK, actually at Manchester University in the 1950s, in any field in the UK. So, and widely considered as the first major thinker in the field of development economics. A building at the University of Manchester was named after him in 2007. Who is this man? Ooh, we've got a few very well versed people on this call. I guess that's Arthur, Judy.
One way of spelling it, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. It's actually Sir is Sir Arthur Lewis, or Sir William Arthur Lewis, or Professor Sir William Arthur Lewis. But Arthur Lewis is enough.
So Judy,
okay.
Judy has one.
Right. Oh,
Teresa.
Right. Okay. I'm glad somebody's taking notes.
I'm taking notes.
Right. Okay. Okay. This next question: in which year during the 1950s did the Notting Hill riots occur, where 300 to 400 white people attacked the homes of Caribbean residents, and also attacked them in the streets, who then gallantly defended themselves and their families? Which year in the 1950s? Oh gosh, wow!
Goodness,
we've got some very good people here. I should have made the questions more difficult.
A bit harder. Well, if I was following it, I'd have got the first one and none other. So that is Lorraine. Is that the first one? Yeah, Lorraine, right. 1958. I take it that's right.
Yes, 1958 is the date.
Okay, so Lorraine has one.
Yes. Okay, this next one should stump a few people. This Trinidadian woman who founded the West Indian Gazette, Britain's first major black newspaper, is mostly remembered in the UK as the mother of the Notting Hill Carnival. Ah.
Wow.
Wow. That was quick.
Let's see who else gets in there.
Yes, that was quick. Hey, three people, that's good.
Charles and Claudia Jones is the...
Yeah, Charles got there first.
Yeah.
Okay. This next one should stump a few people, I hope. In which year did the British Omnibus Company the Bristol Omnibus Company refused to employ Black or Asian bus crews, and this led to the Bristol bus boycott, which lasted for 4 months until the company backed down and overturned the discriminative color bar policy that they had. Wow. Hey, this is getting good.
Oh, everybody know the answers to these things. That is Lorraine first up. So that's Lorraine in the lead now with 2, and the year was 1963.
Was that Lorraine? No, Judy.
Well, it is Judy first. My apologies, Judy.
Yeah, I noticed that Judy came in very quickly.
Well spotted there, sir. So Judy has 2, Teresa has 1, Lorraine has 1, and Charles has 1.
Okay.
And we're halfway through.
Okay, yes. So next one is this dame who died earlier this year, helped to develop the Race Relations Act 1965, pioneered multicultural education in this country, was the first Black governor of the BBC, and founded the Broadcasting Standards Council, the forerunner of Ofcom. Mike, you should know this.
I don't know it. What do I know it for? Annika has got it.
Has somebody got it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Annika's first. Dame Joycelyn Barrow. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Dame Joycelyn Barrow, who unfortunately, sadly passed away this year. Okay. This one everybody should get this one. If you don't, I'll really be surprised. Which British MP who had previously recruited Caribbean nurses to the NHS in the mid-1950s delivered the Rivers of Blood speech in 1968, where he strongly criticized mass immigration to the UK and the proposed race relations bill?
I would get this one right. I would get it right. And
I know you will, Mike.
First person to get there was June Forbes. Definitely
Okay.
first. Yes, June Forbes.
Right. Brilliant.
So most people have got one. Judy has two.
Okay, right. So Judy has the opportunity to get ahead of everyone now.
And by the way, what's the prize?
I think you'd have to ask Elizabeth or Faye. I know that I've suggested that I can give away a copy of one of my books.
Oh, there you go.
So
then.
that's not a problem.
And
also maybe a genealogy session with someone who is interested in researching their Jamaican genealogy, their Jamaican family history.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So I don't know what else is being given away, but I'm quite happy to do that considering I'm asking the questions. Right, the next question, we've got just three more. Is it two more? Three more?
Three more.
This Jamaican who joined the RAF during World War II, went back to Jamaica in 1945, returned to on the Empire Windrush in 1948, and then became Manchester's first Black Justice of the Peace. Who was he?
Wow. We're a bit
Manchester's first Black Justice of the Peace. Oh, that's interesting.
Two different
Got
answers.
two interesting answers here.
And a third different answer.
None of them are right so far. Unless I've got it wrong, but this has come from other JPs who have told me the same thing.
Okay.
This is the man. Remember, we're talking about Manchester here. Sam King wasn't in Manchester.
Right.
Bill Morris was somewhere else.
Union leader, wasn't he, Bill Morris?
He wasn't, yeah. But this wasn't a union. This is a local man who passed away a few years back.
Yeah.
I think somebody's got it. Mr. Christian. Houghton Christian.
Right, so that's Paula King is the first person with the correct answer. Paula?
Yep. Yeah, it's Mr. Houghton Christian. I got this directly from Mr. Whitstennett, so I'm if he's wrong, it's
can I tell you, fault. I was speaking to Whitstennett for my Colourful radio show. We did an hour-long interview, and you came up. We talked about you.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope it was good.
Well, he said you predicted all this stuff that's going on in the world today. You said it was coming, and that was the back end of last year.
I don't know about predicting it. I probably listened to other people who had predicted it. Right, the next question. This woman who came to Britain in 1955 to train as a nurse became an associate consultant in the Northwest Regional Health Authority. Nurses should know this. In 1989, she became Deputy Lord Lieutenant for Greater Manchester and founding member of two very successful Black-led businesses, Arwick Walton Housing and Karaoke Enterprises.
Oh.
This is in Manchester. Who was this incredible woman?
This lady came up in our discussions as well with me and
someone has mentioned Mary Seacole.
No. The first person with the correct answer, which is Louise Dakicodia, is Charles.
Yes, I think Charles got there. Have we got Charles on 2 now?
Charles on 2 and Judy on 2.
Oh, wait, this is good.
So 2 questions left?
We've got 1 question left.
1 question left.
This well-known British author who wrote Small Island, which was then dramatized by television, stated that her parents arrived on the Empire Windrush in 1948. Who was the author? She passed away last year. I think it was last year. Ooh, right.
Are those answers correct?
It is Andrea Levy. Who got it first? Who got there first?
Well, the first person with Andrea Levy is June Forbes. So
right.
June goes on to 2. As is Charles and Judy.
So we've got 3 people who have
Have you got another
tied.
question? We'll have a tiebreaker.
Oh, you want a tiebreaker?
Yeah, let's see.
Oh
Judy,
gosh.
Charles and June can take part in this. So Judy, Charles and June, first to answer this question.
Right. The tiebreaker, let me see. This man was instrumental in helping to bring forward the Race Relations Act in the 60s. He also became he also ran for Parliament. He ran for council, and he was also the first man, black person, to become a chair of the British Medical Association.
Woo! Now, can any of the 3 people get this? Judy, Charles, and June. They're on 2 apiece. Any offers from Judy, Charles, or June? Well, I can see. I think people are Googling.
Nobody's got it so far.
No, nobody's got that one.
Oh dear. So we've got to try another one.
We'll try one more, but we're going to have to end it there because we're running out of time.
No, not Archibald Brockway. Right, one more.
Easier, please.
Okay, I'll give you something probably simpler. By the way, the answer to that was Lord Pitt.
Right.
Lord Pitt of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Yes. One more. This gentleman was from the Caribbean. I think he was from Antigua. He came to Britain and he was working, and he got injured, and he went to the A&E. It was late by the time that he got out of A&E. This was 1959, and he was chased by teddy boys and eventually murdered. What's the name of this gentleman?
Wasn't expecting that.
1959. This was after the carnival. Very well known.
Judy, Charles, and June. I doubt we're going to get that one.
Oh dear, it looks like that was a bit too complex.
Yes, it was. It was.
Okay, can I just give one? The name was Kelso Cochrane.
Okay, an easy question.
I'll give you an easy question. Which docks was it that the Empire Windrush docked?
Right. Tilbury first.
We've got someone.
Is
Tilbury.
Yes, Tilbury.
I think Judy's got it.
And Judy is the first to get it correct. Judy wins the competition with 3. Judy, congratulations, commiserations to
well done, Judy.
June and Charles, who made it to the final. And thank you to everybody who took part in that. Mr. Sweeney, thank you very much indeed, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely brilliant.
And we're having a wonderful day today.
Listen, I'm loving this. I have to tell you, loving this. Absolutely brilliant. And we now move on because next we're joined by the Lord Mayor of Manchester, Councillor Abid Latif Chauhan, who will give a short address. Councillor Chauhan, please. Is Councillor Chauhan with us? Doesn't look as if he's available. I wonder if we've got the Assistant Chief Constable Ian Pilling. Assistant Chief Constable Ian Pilling is representing the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police. He would be speaking about GMP's commitment to working closely with the Caribbean and African community and positive action recruitment. So please welcome ACC Ian Pilling.
Thank you, and I'm a poor substitute for the Lord Mayor, but I'll do my best to do my input. And I'd just like to thank you first of all for the opportunity to speak at today's event. And just reflecting really earlier that I can scarcely believe it's 12 months since the event of last year Alexander Park, and so much has happened, hasn't it, during that last year? And I guess we all thought at that time that Brexit would be the biggest thing that we saw in our lifetimes. And how wrong we were as COVID-19 has gripped the world and changed the way that we all have to live our lives. And on that note, a huge well done to you, Mike, and all those involved in arranging this event and getting it still to happen. It's really important that you know, even though we can't meet in person, that we do embrace technology. I'd just like to speak really about some of the challenges, first of all, that are affecting policing and are affecting us all, because, you know, these are tough times. And Afzal a few minutes ago mentioned the COVID challenges and the disproportionate way that it's affecting Black and Asian minority ethnic communities, and the lack of understanding as to why that's the case. And you know, I understand that must be of huge concern to communities. And you know, in recent weeks, following tragic events in the USA and the death of George Floyd, we've seen Black Lives Matters protests and gatherings nationwide. And you know, such is the strength of feeling locally. It was only 3 weeks ago that over 10,000 people gathered in Manchester, and that's the largest gathering we've had in the city for a number of years. And I know a lot of people there, and I include the police officers that policed that event, found it to be a very emotional and moving day, and one which I think let them really start to understand what the pressures are that are facing our Black communities at the moment. And I'd just like to mention as well on the back of that event that no arrests were made. 10,000 people came to the city, no arrests were made. And we only actually deployed a handful of officers onto the streets. And certainly I would strongly suggest that is real evidence of the cohesion and the tolerance that we enjoy in this wonderful city and wider city region. You know, and there's a lot of challenges at the moment that are facing us all, and there are a lot of challenges that are facing policing. And one that we seem to constantly be discussing is related to protest. And it's that really difficult debate of what we allow and what we don't allow as regards people coming together. And we do genuinely, you know, we try and strike a balance in Greater Manchester Police as regards that, and we try and listen to communities. But there are occasions where, you know, when tragedy strikes at these events, and 3 weeks ago we had raves that took place, and there was a tragic loss of life through a drugs overdose, we believe. And more recently, my heart goes out to the friends and family of the 2 males who were murdered in Moss Side just a week ago tonight. And as I say, you know, we are constantly looking at what we are doing and considering how we are policing Greater Manchester, and giving really careful thought as to, you know, what we allow, what we don't allow, what we intervene in, and where we try and, you know, and engage to stop people from gathering in the first place. And unfortunately, you know, I don't have all the answers, and we as a police service, either in Greater Manchester or indeed nationally, don't have all the answers. And what we must do, what we do try and do, is to come to our conclusions over the way that we will police events through engagements with our communities. And that's one of the reasons why I'm keen to come to events like this, even on a virtual basis, and why our officers right across Manchester and Greater Manchester are really keen to engage with all communities, but in particular, just at the moment with the Black community of Manchester and Greater Manchester, because of the very real and specific challenges and threats that community is facing. So those are some of the challenges that we have at the moment, and as ever, you know, we really do appreciate the feedback of anybody, and it was the strength, I think, of the community relations in Manchester last weekend, and Moss Side in particular, that helped us to start to recover from those very tragic circumstances that, as I say, resulted in the loss of 2 lives. Other challenges, and you said at the introduction that I wanted to talk about representation, and I do, because it is really important to us. And, you know, despite a lot of work, and I'll speak about the achievements in a couple of minutes, you know, we are still not representative of the communities that live across Greater Manchester. Now, we are doing better. So 4 years ago, about 4% of our workforce was Black, Asian and minority ethnic. And during the last 4 years, we've been able to do something we hadn't done for the previous few years, and that was recruit new police officers. And we've done an awful lot of work in our communities, and that recruitment has enabled us to increase that representation of Black and Asian minority ethnic officers from 4% to 8%. So we've doubled it in 4 years. Now, in some ways, we're proud of that, but in other ways, you know, when you consider that the population of Greater Manchester, which is Black and Asian minority ethnic, is probably nearer to 16, maybe 18%, depending on which data you look at, you can see that that journey is in the right direction. but we far from achieved our goal. And we do particularly struggle in attracting black, both males and females, to apply to GMP. And we need to do more work with our communities to properly understand why that is the case and to increase those applications and, you know, get us a police force that is truly representative of our communities, because until we have that, we can't claim to be truly legitimate in our approach, and that is really, really important to us. So we've made some progress, but lots still to do. And as ever, you know, we don't have all the answers. You know, we've got some great people working on this, but we need the community to tell us where we're going wrong and how we can actually do more. And we do also know that, you know, that it was reported a couple of weeks ago in the media that some of the way in which we apply, you know, force as regards stop and search and arrest and the use of force and the use of taser is still disproportionate. You know, you're still more likely to have taser used on you if you're a black male in Greater Manchester, and that can't be right. That isn't right, and it's something that we need to call out. We call it out ourselves, and we need to understand why that's the reason. And we are absolutely determined to get to a position where that is not the case, and to develop a stronger understanding as to why certain things are happening. So again, please don't think that we're sat in our hands saying, well, that's just the way it is. We're not. You know, we are genuinely determined to improve, and we will do so. So just finally from me, just as regards the event, you know, this is the 72nd anniversary of Windrush, as previous speakers have pointed out. And, you know, again, just reflecting earlier on today, and I think what's happened over the last 3 years, again, as Afzal was saying, was the story, if you like, the history, probably a better word, of what happened to that Windrush generation has been brought to the forefront of our mind over recent years. And there's a window of opportunity, I think, to right the wrongs, and it's there to be taken. Now, it's not for me to make political comment, but, you know, my observation would be that there is so much going on, so many other things going on, that attention can waver from what's important, and the actions and the promised actions can be forgotten. And this must not happen. And we've all got to work together to ensure that it's kept at the forefront of all our minds. And, you know, please, everybody be assured that you have the continuing support of GMP in this. And I think that's all I've got to say, Mike, but thank you very much for the invitation. As ever, most welcome, and really pleased and privileged to be able to speak here today.
Assistant Chief Constable Ian Pilling, thank you very much indeed for that, getting some response to that. Paula King says, so happy to hear that no arrests were made from 10,000 people. This is the kind of news that GMP, that's Greater Manchester Police, should be putting out to the wider community, thus increasing trust and transparency. This will in turn help with the recruitment process. So instant reaction there for you, Assistant Chief Constable, and thanks once again for that.
Thank you.
This is our Windrush Day celebration for 2020. I'm Mike Shaft, looking after this end of it. It's because I haven't got any talent, so they asked me to do this bit, and all the talented people are out there, like Linford Sweeney and all the people we're hearing from. So let's move on to some more talented people. Mariana Binger and Amelia Walber from Kaiso, the youth club here in Manchester, has kindly done a dance for us. This is a pre-recorded segment, so as they say in professional places, roll the tape.
Go. I'm Mariana. And I'm Mariana. And we're dancing to Already by Beyonce and Shatta Whale. Only the king, you know it. King already, you know it. Top everything, you know it. King already, you know it. My body so got a king body. Body gon' shine, bling, bling body. Calling all the shots, ring body. Crown on your head, got a king body. Don't live the king, you a king, you know it. King already, my baby, you know it. Top everything, you know it. King already, you know it. Shine already, it's time already. The line already, it's time already. Shine already, it's time already. The line already, it's time already.
Hi, I'm Millie, and the song I am dancing to is a TikTok mashup, so yeah.
Very much indeed to Mariana Binger and Amelia Walber from CAISO, the youth club here in Manchester. Now, earlier we went to Lord Mayor Abid Latif Chauhan. Unfortunately, he wasn't ready for us. I'm delighted to say he is now. So please welcome the Lord Mayor of Manchester, Councillor Abid Latif Chauhan, who will give us a short address.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks to the Caribbean and African Health Network for inviting me to speak at this Windrush Day 2020 celebration as we share our diverse heritage despite the difficult circumstances imposed by the pandemic. The Windrush generation and their descendants have given so much to British society then and now. From assisting in the transmissions and rebuilding of this country, employing their much needed skills, integrations, and the contribution of much valued cultural richness. They have remained strong, resilient, and proud despite the injustice faced over many years. We must not, however, forget those early pioneers who are no longer with us. Now, indeed, those in our communities who have tragically lost their lives over the past few months. The City Council support migrants communities to flourish and will continue to build on Manchester's success to a diverse, inclusive, and welcoming city. Recognitions of the Windrush generation have been celebrated far and wide this week and should continue to be celebrated for many more years to come. Together, we must preserve the legacy and continue to make a real difference. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy today's activities.
Lord Mayor, thank you very much indeed for that presentation. So many people have passed away because of COVID-19, and many people are finding new ways to pay tribute to those people. This is a memory collection. Ahmed Iqbal Ullah Education Trust and Race Relations Resource Center, and this is a pre-recorded presentation. Please take a look at this.
The Ahmed Iqbal Ullah Race Centre and Education Trust is an anti-racist organisation based in Manchester Central Library. We may be working from home, but we're still open. Our mission is to increase the visibility of Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities across Greater Manchester and the rest of the UK.
We're living through exceptional times. COVID-19 is hitting Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities particularly hard.
We know that public archives and records don't properly represent our communities and our stories, and we're worried that our experiences during the pandemic are at a risk of loss.
For this reason, we've launched our COVID-19 collecting campaign. We're asking people from our Greater Manchester communities to help us build an archive that truly tells our stories in our own words.
We'd like you to contribute items to our archive which represent your experience of living through the pandemic and lockdown.
We're hoping to collect a wide range of material, so your donation can be absolutely anything. For example,
Photos or screenshots,
diaries or poems,
videos or songs,
recipes or artwork,
posters or flyers.
If you're interested in donating or have any questions, please get in touch via email rrarchive@manchester.ac.uk
or visit our website at racearchive.org.uk/COVID-19.
We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at AIU Centre.
All stories are important, especially those that are most ignored or unheard. We look forward to hearing yours.
Is 2020 Cannes Windrush Day celebrations, and now another live performance for you. Shakina Wilberforce and Kia Bell Khan are young people, two of representatives for Khan on the Greater Manchester Mayor's Youth Combined Authority. They're passionate about getting the voices of young Black people heard. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hi everyone, we're Kia and Shekinah, and we are going to read a short poem that we wrote to celebrate the Windrush generation. This poem is for the Windrush generation who sailed across the sea. They greeted those of another nation, not knowing what their final fate would be.
The war saw countless murders of our God's creation, yet still they left everything behind to help with the British fabrication.
They chose to work together with the British in one accord, but for this, what was their reward? They found a new home, one they helped to build.
Finally, it seemed that their destinies would be fulfilled.
Of course, it is to no surprise that they were welcomed with discrimination, long hours, rough jobs, and teddy boy confrontation.
But still to this day, their true reward is in need of review, as some have suffered, have been treated unfairly, a pain we can't undo.
After decades of building up the country with hard work and dedication, only then to be threatened to lose their homes unless they provided valid documentation.
However, for all those who tried, fought and paved the way, we commemorate them dearly, which is the reason for generations celebrating today.
From the Caribbean they came between 1948 and 1970, and today we continue to celebrate their hardships on June 27, 2020.
This is our poem for the Windrush generation, who with such bravery assisted and managed to thrive in another place.
With them as our inspiration, now we continue to be a voice for our community. Now is our time to leave a significant trace.
Thank you very much indeed for that. And our next presentation is a message from Charlie Norman, Group Chief Executive for Mosque Care St. Vincent Housing Association, who are major supporters of Khan. It says, may we at MSV wish to express our condolences to the families affected by the recent tragic events in Moss Side, Whalley Range, and also to any families affected by COVID-19 pandemic. We fully support Khan in their wonderful work within our communities and are delighted to support Windrush Day 2020 and the amazing contribution of the Windrush generation and their descendants to Greater Manchester and the UK. This year will be very different, and it would have been fantastic to join you in Alexander Park. But we look forward to the online event and this important celebration. Have a fantastic day, and thank you to everyone. And thank you to Charlie Norman, Group Chief Executive for Mosque Care, St. Vincent's Housing Association, supporters of Khan. We thank you for those kind words, and we thank you for your continued support of the organization. And next, where do we begin? Professor Dame Elizabeth Anewu. Dame Elizabeth is an emeritus professor of nursing at the University of West London. She was the first sickle cell nurse in the UK and co-led a campaign to have the statue of Nurse Mary Seacole erected at St. Thomas's Hospital in 2016. Now retired, Dame Elizabeth was handed a Lifetime Achievement Award by music sensation Janet Jackson. Dame Elizabeth will be leading us through this tribute and a 1-minute silence in the light for those, sadly, we've lost from COVID-19. Please welcome Professor Dame Elizabeth Anewu.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this very poignant event. I'm actually based in London, but I have very strong links with Manchester, and particularly my family. And I know Mrs. Elaine Munegbu is very active in Khan. And so thank you very much indeed. I do actually I've had other links with Manchester, particularly in the mid-70s when I attended the University of Manchester for an advanced diploma in nursing studies. And I mention this because I hope many of you know that yesterday, the Google Doodle was for a Black radical feminist, the late Olive Morris. And I knew and was very friendly with Olive because she also was studying at Manchester University at the same time. Very sadly, Olive died at the age of 27 as a result of leukemia. So it struck me that some things have really improved, that Google would recognize somebody like Olive. And I understood it was because of the collaboration between Black Cultural Archives in London and Google. So this is the way to carry on, ensuring that these mainstream establishment media vehicles and others are aware of the huge importance of the Black community in the life of this country. And this brings me to what you asked me to talk about, and that is the huge contribution that particularly Black and minority ethnic health professionals are making to the National Health Service, and also in the private care sector as well. For example, in residential homes. And we need to remember homes as well as the NHS because of the deadly impact that COVID has had on the staff and patients alike. So this is my thank you to all of you that are still involved, but particularly those who have succumbed to the dreadful illness, and those who are still suffering the effects of COVID-19. More and more information is coming out now about the fact that COVID-19 is not a flu. COVID-19 does vary in symptoms, some people not having any, but even those that were diagnosed and maybe were hospitalized, some of those are still affected by long-term consequences. And we wish you all well. So I would like to ask everybody to switch off all sound mechanisms, please, so that we can have a 1-minute silence for all those who have died due to COVID-19, our friends, our relatives, our professional colleagues. And we will start that 1-minute silent now. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for asking me to do the 1-minute silence. Thank you.
Dame Elizabeth, thank you very much indeed for that very moving presentation. It's the Cannes Windrush Day celebrations for 2020. I'm Mike Shaft, looking after this end of it. We now have a live presentation, which I'm really looking forward to. And this is Dorothy Allen. Now, Dorothy is one of Cannes' regulars, and we're delighted that she'll sing a very famous song to support this tribute and what Cannes subscribes to. She'll sing the song, Something Inside So Strong. Dorothy Allen. Special guest now who I'm hoping will take a couple of minutes to speak to us. He's a very good friend of mine. He's the Dean of Manchester, the Right Reverend, Very Reverend Rogers Govinder. Rogers, please say a few words for us.
Thank you for inviting me to say a few words, Mike. Can I say thank you to Charles and the team again for organizing an excellent event. Even though it's locked down and is on Zoom, it's still proving to be a superb way to connect with each other and to mark Windrush Day. And so thank you to all those who have contributed to a marvelous remembrance, commemoration and celebration today. Also good to see a number of familiar faces. It shows how important it is for us to work with each other, to build relationships, and to connect with these very important occasions for the good of our community. So thank you to a variety of speakers whom you and I, Mike, know very well and work with regularly in the community. I thought it might be useful for all of us to know that the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, is also participating in a Windrush event with other faith leaders in London today. And it's really good when I heard from the Archbishop's office earlier in the week to say that he was doing that as his support for the work of justice for the Windrush community. And I thought I would mention that to everybody this afternoon. Two other things, if I may say very quickly. I have been working with colleagues in the Church of England to challenge the church about structural and systemic racism. We know that BAME people are still not fully represented and included in the life of the Church of England, and no doubt the other historic churches as well. And so one of the things that I initiated was a statement calling for a commission to address the whole inequality and lack of inclusion of BAME people in the life of the Church of England. I'm very pleased that the bishops of the Church of England have responded very swiftly after their meeting this week to say that a commission is to be set up to address this issue with urgency. And again, it just shows that all of us do need to be doing our bit to be putting pressure on those who are leaders in various institutions of society, government, the NHS, the police forces, and the churches and religious communities as well, to bring about the change that we desperately need to see. If we are going to see justice, then it has to be systemic structural change in these various institutions. And let's not stop until that happens more and more. And then lastly, if I may say, I am missing the Windrush celebrations at Alex Park, and hopefully we shall return to that next year. One of the things that I really do want to call for, and that is, in addition to the event at Alex Park and in the community in a very laid back kind of way, I also hope that we can have a regular civic event to mark Windrush Day as well. I did host a Windrush event at the cathedral about 2 years ago. It is my hope that we can do that more regularly and to enable the community to get together either in the cathedral or a suitable venue so that we can all celebrate Windrush Day in both a formal civic, religious kind of setting, as well as in the community where we can have a bit more of a fun event while celebrating and proclaiming the need for equality, inclusion, and justice. So once again, thank you to all the organizers. Thank you to you, Mike. As always, you're doing a fantastic job. We love you to bits. Thank you for all that you and everybody is doing in their little or big ways to make a difference in our society. And may we continue to celebrate the Windrush community. Thank you very much indeed.
Dean, thank you very much indeed. Dean Rogers Govinder. We're now able to join Dorothy Allen. Dorothy is, of course, as I said, one of Khan's regulars.
The higher you build your barriers, the taller I'll become. The further you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can no matter cost. There's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. So you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was wrong. There's something inside so strong. There's something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. You hide behind walls of Jericho. Your lies will come tumbling. Deny my place in time. You squander wealth that's mine. My life will shine. He will blind you. I know that I can make it. You know you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was wrong. No, 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 no. There's something inside so strong. Yeah, yeah. There's something inside so strong. Brothers and sisters, when you insist we're just not good enough, not good enough. No, no, no. Yes, we know better. Just look them in the eye and say, we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. I know that I can make it. You know you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was wrong. No, 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 no. There's something inside so strong. Yeah, yeah. There's something inside so strong. Something inside. I know that I can make it. God, you're doing me wrong. You thought that my pride was wrong. No, 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 no. Something inside. Go strong, go strong, go strong. Something inside, go strong. Brothers and sisters, when you insist we're just not good enough. Good enough. No, no, no. Yes, we know better. Just look them in the eye and say, we're gonna do it anyway. 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 There's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Are you doing me wrong? You thought that my pride is wrong. No, 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 no. There's something inside so strong. Yeah. Know that I can make it. Know you're doing me wrong. You thought that my pride is what's wrong. No, 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 no. There's something inside so strong. Yeah, yeah. Something inside so strong. Something inside so strong. I wanna say, I know that I can make it. So you're doing me wrong, so wrong.
Thank you very much indeed, Dorothy Allen, one of Khan's regulars. We thank you for your continued support. And that pretty much wraps it up, except for a few words from our organizers, our chief exec. So can I please ask you to welcome Faye Bruce, Chair, and Charles Kwaku Adoy, Chief Officer, with some closing remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just reiterating the words that Dorothy has just sang, which is we're going to do it anyway. And we come with that attitude that we, no matter what, we're going to work really hard. We're going to pull together to make the change that we want to see. And I remember the time when we launched the Caribbean and African Health Network in 2017, and Dorothy sang that song for us, A Change is Going to Come. And we really and optimistically believe that this is the time when we are going to see that change. And CARN is an organisation that is working extremely hard to do all it can to ensure equal opportunity and better treatment for Black people. I remember when we set up and we talked about the grave health inequalities that we see amongst our Black community, where we have Black women, Black pregnant women in 2021 are 5 times more likely to die as a result of their pregnancy, or the complications that result from that. And also when we look at our Black children that are born today, they are 122% more likely to die in the first month. And how can that be in 2020, where we're seeing those grave inequalities are Black people being taken into mental health through the criminal justice system, where we're more likely to see, you know, the chronic stresses that we face impacting and causing some of those health inequalities that we see because of the racial discrimination and the structural barriers. So we are working extremely hard to make the change that we want to see. And Charles will talk a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing. So we have given, and we celebrate Windrush because we talk about the contributions that Black people have made to Greater Manchester and to the United Kingdom. And I, for one, was a nurse that trained in the 90s and, you know, saw some of those health inequalities. And we really are working hard to change the education that our nurses receive, the midwives, the doctors, and people right across our institutions. So we are looking to correct the wrongs. We are at a point where we have a lot to do. And as Kimoy said earlier, I am proud to be Black. I am proud to be Black and to be part of this community. And, you know, I just stand for unity within our community. I stand for us all coming together to make the changes that we need to see in the 21st century. And on that note, Charles will do all the thanks, but I just want to say thank you to everybody for making this event possible. I want to say thank you to all our volunteers, to all our staff, to all our performers, and just to everybody that made it possible, and to Mike. So thank you to everybody, and thank you community as well for also sticking, you know, together to try and to make the changes. So I'm going to hand over to Charles, the Chief Officer.
Thanks very much, Faye. Adding my thanks and appreciation to what Faye said. You know, we just want to thank the Caribbean and African community, because without you, we wouldn't have had any mandates to do what we do. So massive thanks to you. We're also grateful to all the planning, you know, partners, you know, the planning group members, you know, who have supported year after year. Thanks for all you do and all your support. And to our wonderful volunteers who turn up whenever we need support, we're really grateful. And to my staff members, none of you is, you know, employed full-time, but during COVID-19, you've stepped up, you've been so flexible, and we're very grateful. And to the fellow 8 directors, you know, within CARN, you know, thanks for all you do. And to the Dean of Manchester, our own patron, we're grateful to you for all your support. We usually call on you at short notice and you respond, and you ever so there. And now to our legendary Mike Shaft, you know, our compare for today. You were at the gala. Whenever we call on you, you respond. You give interview slots and you promote our work. We're really grateful. So for this event, we also want to thank those who financially contribute to our work, without which we would have been in a different place. So particular thanks to Manchester City Council, the Greater Manchester Health and Social Care Partnership, Mosque St. Vincent Housing, Greater Manchester Mental Health NHS Foundation Trust, Buzz Manchester, Greater Manchester Police, and Transport for Greater Manchester. your funds and your financial support goes a long way, and we're really grateful for that. The work CON does is only building on the shoulders of our forefathers and our elders. Pre-COVID and over the last 3 years, we have spent a lot of our time knocking on doors and asking questions and making sure that the voice of the Black community is in the room when decisions or conversations are being had or when decisions are being made. We've never allowed lack of core funding to stop us from what we do. So from our very launch event, all the 10 directors then, they chipped in hundreds of pounds to make sure that the launch event happened, and they continue to support 3 years down the line. 3 years down the line, no core funding, but we still press forwards and upwards, raising awareness about organ donation, recruiting donors to the register, lobbying at Greater Manchester level to ensure that health conditions like sickle cell that affect our community has an equal priority when it comes to where resources go. As a health organization, we've been busily, adapting to what the new normal is. So during COVID-19, we've done so much, setting up weekly events. Dorothy mentioned Healthy Hearts on Tuesdays, Thursdays, a peer support group for our single mothers, Fridays, some unwinding with Afrobeats and Reggae Bash, and Saturday, our health hours. But on a fortnightly basis, bringing decision makers to our community, our collective community response meeting, for them to engage and hear the voices of our community and not just the directors who go into meetings. So we're very grateful to the community. We did put out a survey between the middle of April and middle of May. We've been told our community is hard to reach and they never respond to stuff. But during those 4 weeks, 334 people responded to our survey, and Warren Heppolet referred to the report that has been published. Some of the recommendations we made were reflected in the Public Health in England report. We want to thank our community again. We've set up a WhatsApp forum and the community is vibrant on that, lots of contribution. In response to COVID as well, we've set up a bereavement service with Black qualified counselors. We are talking about this time in which we are now and the call for investment in Black-led organizations, and that's what we'll keep pushing for. We've just started a 2-year project in Wigan to bring the Caribbean and African community together to talk about the things that matter to them, to decide what change they want to see, and so that we can facilitate that change. Our real passion as CON is not and never to become gatekeepers, but to facilitate conversations in the community and to respond to the needs of the Black community. This whole work started because the community asked it when Faye was consulting, about cardiovascular disease during her PhD. So we continue to recruit donors. We continue to, ask for volunteers to step up and support our work. For all the medical professionals that give up their time, for all the Black nurses that offer to screen and to make referrals so that we raise an awareness of cardiovascular related disease. We are so grateful, for all you do. So follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We also have a website with lots of information there. But we are accessible 24/7. We set up a helpline during COVID-19. We've been lobbying and campaigning for ethnic foods. And we're so pleased to be able to get bits of funding and buy food in bulk, yam, plantain, and pounded yam, other stuff, to be able to give to those who are not used to, the normal food that the food bank gives. So our thanks to everyone. Thanks for giving up your precious time on Saturday. And we look forward to seeing you at the launch event of Black History Month, which the Dean kindly hosted last year. And we're hoping it's going to happen this year as well. The Dean said he's never seen lots of Black people in the cathedral like last year, September. So this year is going to happen again. And we look forward to seeing you. Thanks everyone for all your support. We're very, very grateful.
Oh dear, I didn't come on the Windrush. I came on the Reno del Pacifico. It only cost me £59 was to come at the time. And it took me about nearly a fortnight on the ship.
Did you go to Bellevue Dancing with Chris?
Oh yes. we go to Bellevue dancing. We used to go and enjoy ourselves, have a baby shower, and have one of those colored cigarettes and dance like hell. She went to the Catholic Church in Hume, and the minister, when the service was over, the minister came to the door, and then he shook hands with everybody that go to the church and thanked them. And when he came to Teddy, and he shook his hand, he says to him it was nice for him to come, but he mustn't come back to the church because he stopped the members from coming because they don't want anybody like him, anybody black in the church. So Teddy Charles never go back.
I felt it was an honor and a privilege to be the first, because when one sits on the bench, he is supposed to be colorblind in dispensing justice. The only thing that I noticed is that when I sit on the bench and a black person comes before me, he feels an air of confidence. He feels that I won't be in his favor or against him, but at least he feels that he'll get the justice that he deserves.
What do you think your contribution was to England?
My contribution to England is to see that black people come here and live decent and respectable. I came here in '49 and I'll die here. I do not like London. I just love Manchester.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I take great pleasure in bringing to you one of the world's greatest gospel singers and guitar virtuoso, the inimitable Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
In the summer of 1964, in the pouring rain, from a disused railway station outside Manchester, a 49-year-old African-American woman with an electric guitar appeared on British television. Viewers had never seen anything quite like it. With her distinctive style of singing and playing, this remarkable performer would profoundly influence the course of popular music.
Didn't it rain, children? Rain, oh yes. Didn't it? Yes, didn't it? You know it did, didn't it? Oh yes, how it rained. I said it rained, children. Rain, oh yes. Didn't it? Yes, didn't it? All I can say, praise God, there's something within.
All through her teens, Rosetta was taken by her mother from city to city to perform in churches, tabernacles, and revival meetings, winning the hearts of thousands with her demure looks, angelic voice, and unique guitar style.
Oh, have you got something?
Y'all ready for a little blues? Yeah.
missing link. Yeah. Open up our minds and universalize the way we think. The way we think. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we only just work together. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we all just work together. When life's burden gets heavy, pull your shoulders to carry. You need a friend or family, someone who's a company. Don't be afraid to ask for help to survive the stormy blast. Reach out and you may find help is on the line. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we only just work together. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we all just work together. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we only just work together. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go if we all just work together. Everyone need help to climb up the ladder. Like one family we have to stick together. Like sheep on one flank, birds have one feather. Listen to the voice of only compound love. I know where life can get better. Every man I want like say them a hot stepper. Some man I want like say them a top shutter. Time for we live up and serve the Father. Why can't we unite for the benefit of our youth? Sake of our generations coming. Oh my Lord, 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 love is what we need in this world today. I can, you can, we can, all can reach where we wanna go.
See them cried out in a broad daylight with them gun in a them and take another youth life. Mama ball out, say no this no right. She never experienced such a brutal sight. Them go hard out, machine tall out. Is another innocent them shoot, yeah. In this world can you tell me what is happening? Somebody gotta do something. Oh Lord, and a little preach man preach and beg them keep the peace. Oh Lord, it seems like life have no values, mark full up of disease. Oh Lord, criminals on a rampage. Me wondering if we're in the end of days. Oh Lord, are these the things that Papa used to talk about? Murderers, how do you feel taking someone's life and them begging for mercy? And you never think twice, don't you have a conscience? Yeah, look into yourself for a minute. Where is the love, the love, the love, the love in your heart? You do the bad things and a brag, but you can't hide from God. So many people you left sad. Oh Lord, and a little preach man preach and beg them keep the peace. Oh Lord, it seems like life have no values, mark full up of disease. Oh Lord, criminals on a rampage. Me wondering if we're in the end of days. Oh Lord, are these the things that Papa used to talk about? The whole city turned red, blood running in the streets, and you have to keep your eyes open. They made hotter than a furnace. Make sure you learn this. They do as they like and there's no justice. Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day. And the wicked them passed away, and everyone living in unity. Yeah. Harmony of beauty. Oh my Lord, I want to hear my cry. Not only me, but protect us on the journey. Oh my Lord, a lot of us need your helping hand to understand ourselves. Oh my Lord, I would love to see a better world when all crime and violence cease. Oh, 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 oh. Oh Lord, and a little preach man preach and beg them keep the peace. Oh Lord, it seems like life have no values, mark full up of disease. Oh Lord, criminals on a rampage. Me wondering if we're in the end of days. Oh Lord, are these the things that Papa used to talk about? Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, yeah. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, yeah, yeah. The wicked them crawl out in a broad daylight with them gun in a them and take another youth life. Mama ball out, say no this no right. She never experienced such a brutal sight. Them go all out, machine tall out. Is another innocent them shoot, yeah. In this world, can you tell me what is something, something?
The only one of creation, yeah. Oh, Jaja, he's ready to be praised. DJ we'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. Jah love is everlasting. Jah love no need no offering, but Jah love is what we need in order to proceed. You better believe we'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. Jah love is everything. I can feel him in the wind. Bless us with talent and give our words to sing. So that's why I have to glorify the King. We'll be forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah, forever loving Jah. We'll be forever